Number 5. Alright, the 2019 Jackson spotting. Folks, we are starting today off with the usual disclaimer that if the footage or photos that I'm talking about don't appear, it's because they've disappeared from the interwebs between when I did my research and when this hits the World Wide Web. Which honestly, in my personal opinion, leads me to believe we're on the right track to the point where the men in black are watching, or I just have the worst luck. 50-50. So in August of 2019, an intriguing video surfaced on the internet raising questions that NASA can't easily dismiss. The footage sent to Buckrail website by an anonymous reader shows a mysterious flying object over Jackson Hole, which is located in Wyoming, by the way. I thought it was in Florida. This unidentified phenomenon occurred during the Perseid meteor shower, but it exhibited peculiar characteristics that challenged conventional explanations. The anonymous observer, working a night shift, initially thought it might be a meteor, but it moved way too slow and seemingly too close to the ground for that. So after checking flight records, no aircrafts were reported in that airspace at that time. And what truly baffled the observer was a sudden brilliant flash at the end of the object's trajectory, illuminating the sky. Such an occurrence defied conventional wisdom, leading to the tongue-in-cheek speculation of aliens in their sleep-deprived state. Hey, after analyzing the video frame by frame, experts ruled out meteors due to the object's brightness and slow movement, which lacked the characteristic streak of meteors. Some suggested it could be a drone, as drone regulations require visible lights, but the unknown flash remains unexplained. Michael Brotherton, a professor of astronomy, noted that the flash might not appear as bright in reality, considering the sensitivity of webcams to low light. A former Air Force pilot proposed the theory of a single-ship fighter jet, possibly performing maneuvers with afterburners and flares. However, the absence of military training airspace in the area and the unusual time for a solo jet flight raises many doubts. In conclusion, the mystery persists, with the leading explanations being a drone or a lone fighter jet. But the peculiar flash remains unaccounted for, leaving us with our unanswered questions. Was it actually a drone pilot's curiosity, a pilot showboating, or UFOs? This footage continues to baffle experts, and yeah, it raises a lot of questions. So let me know in the comments what you think, because my brain is confounded. Number 4, the Varginha incident. The Brazil's Roswell incident, known as we're gonna call it the V case, has resurfaced, igniting intrigue and sparking rumors of potential creature footage. Back in 1996, so the year before I was born, this incident garnered global attention, featuring a UFO crash, an alleged extraterrestrial encounter, and a subsequent military cover-up, despite official government denials. This enigma remains one of Brazil's most famous UFO cases, drawing UFO tourism to the city of V. Witnesses recounted a bizarre event in that January, when a strange, cigar-shaped object crashed in, the city of V. Locals observed its gradual descent, describing it as resembling a struggling washing machine. The incident was followed by the arrival of military personnel who cordoned off the area. Now, subsequently, a group of girls claimed to have encountered a strange creature with brown, oily skin, V-shaped feet, a large head, and huge red eyes. The Brazilian military later attributed this creature to a homeless man covered in mud, but the witnesses vehemently disagreed. They recalled the creature's fearful expression and alien characteristics, leading them to believe it was not a human or an animal. The mystery deepened when 2 military police officers reportedly captured the creature, only for one of them to suffer a fatal infection shortly afterwards. Now, the recent documentary Moment of Contact has reignited interest in the case, featuring interviews with witnesses and an anonymous whistleblower known as Military X. This whistleblower claimed to have been involved in transporting the creature's body to the ESA Army base. His description of the creature's oily skin and V-shaped foot only added to the mystery and credibility. Additionally, a former Brazilian Air Force traffic controller alleged that the US Air Force landed unannounced and dispatched helicopters to collect something in the city of V. The documentary concludes with the filmmakers pursuing video and photographic evidence, suggesting that such evidence exists somewhere in Brazil. Now, this incident occurred in a climate of increased UFO attention, both in Brazil and internationally. But with witnesses and whistleblowers sharing their accounts and claims of photographic evidence, the mystery of Brazil's Roswell remains a captivating enigma, challenging official explanations and leaving room for speculation and, yeah. Hey NASA, any comment on this cover-up? I'm not expecting it, but it'd be nice. Number 3, Japanese-British crossover event. I swear, I know that sounds like something out of an anime, but I promise you it's very, very real. The 2011 British government release of 8,500 pages of secret UFO reports, 8,500, rekindled interest in UFO sightings and their possible connection to world crises. The reports point to a curious pattern of increased UFO sightings during times of significant events, such as natural disasters or wartime. In the aftermath of the devastating 8.9 magnitude earthquake in Japan, y'all remember that one, there had actually been numerous UFO sightings reported over the country, with video footage showing bright lights in the sky and UFOs skimming over the Pacific near the quake zones. One notable incident involved a rare air defense video from Japan showing a UFO flying near the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan as it arrived off Japan's coast to assist with disaster response. These sightings have sparked discussions and speculations about the connection between UFOs and global events. The British UFO files also reference American UFO researcher Dr. Joseph Allen Hynek, who served as a consultant to the American Defense Department for about 15 years. The files suggest that Hynek's studies on world disasters and their relation to increased UFO sightings were influential in the UFO community. This correlation between significant events and UFO sightings raises some questions. I know I have plenty. The release of these files has shed light on the government's long-standing secrecy regarding UFO information, with accusations that people who reported UFO sightings were often ridiculed or dismissed. Furthermore, and hold on to your butts folks, it has been revealed that discussions about UFO phenomenon took place at the highest levels of government worldwide. Like in 1979, the House of Lords held the first full debate among lawmakers on the subject, acknowledging thousands of credible UFO sightings reported by British police, government officials, and members of the Royal Air Force. The role of the House of Lords in keeping these UFO findings secret for over 60 years has raised many questions about the transparency of government institutions. You don't say. Additionally, the British media has criticized the Ministry of Defense for labeling people who reported UFOs as nutters, while the House of Lords and even the Queen of England had knowledge of the secret UFO files. Yeah, you heard me correctly. The Queen knew about this and was just like, nah. Interestingly, the UFO files also mention the detection of 15 UFOs on radar approaching the United Kingdom on the day of September 11th. Yeah, of 2001. Remember that? Adding another layer of mystery to this phenomenon. These revelations from the British government's release of the files have ignited some discussions worldwide about the intersection of UFO sightings, major world events, and government secrecy, prompting further questions. I know I have plenty. Number 2, Gulf Breeze footage. So the Gulf Breeze UFO incident, a series of claimed UFO sightings in Gulf Breeze, Florida during 1987 to 1988 remains a puzzling chapter in the history of UFOlogy. Or is it ufology? Please let me know in the comments. At the heart of this curious tale is Ed Walters, a local contractor who reported numerous UFO encounters and provided photographs as evidence. This case drew significant attention from UFO researchers, skeptics, and the general public. In November of 1987, Ed captured attention by supplying photos of alleged UFO sightings to the Gulf Breeze Sentinel newspaper. These images, published under aliases to protect Walters' identity, showed a mysterious craft in the skies above Gulf Breeze. Now, some experts, like Bruce Maccabee, believed the photographs to be genuine. Walters' own accounts of his experiences are intriguing, yet highly controversial. He reported being immobilized by a blue beam and took Polaroid photos of the UFO hovering above his home. He claimed to have encountered the craft multiple times and even reported seeing land and aliens stepping out. He said the aliens communicated with him telepathically and presented him with a book of dog pictures, and then a blue beam of light lifted him off the ground. Hey, sounds pretty straightforward to me. These extraordinary claims were supported by some, including a polygraph test that indicated Walters believed his photos were real. UFO researcher Bud Hopkins also interviewed Walters and believed in his authenticity, citing the fact that Walters turned down a significant book deal and once again passed a polygraph test. Granted, there were some strong skeptics. Ray Stanford, a paranormal investigator, focused on the background of the photos and was convinced they were hoaxes. In addition, another UFO investigator, Philip Klass, thought the photos were inauthentic and not impressive to the public. And yes, somebody from NASA also raised some questions about the double exposure. We all know about that though. It's pretty easy to fake that. I don't think these were faked. Even within Gulf Breeze, the Gulf Breeze Sentinel's publication of the photos did lead to numerous reported sightings in the area. Locals described various UFO phenomena, including some glowing stuff, beams of light, and a craft. The Gulf Breeze case had become a significant topic of discussion in the UFO community at the time. Once again, it's going to remain shrouded in mystery and controversy. Ed's claims and the accompanying photographs kind of divided some opinions. I'm on team that it's compelling evidence. It's real. Number 1, the Arctic UAP. So the recent surge in reports of unidentified flying objects, or now known as UAPs, has brought the question of extraterrestrial life into the forefront of public consciousness once again. A recent incident involving a Chinese spy balloon over the US and subsequent unexplained aerial phenomena kind of raises some concerns and questions about what on earth is happening in our skies. So let's go back to February of this year when there was an incident that marked a series of mysterious aerial events. Let's go back to February of this year, when there was a series of mysterious aerial events, which captured our attention. It all began with a massive Chinese surveillance balloon that meandered across North America. This intrusion into US airspace prompted the use of military force to bring it down, leaving many Americans in disbelief that such an event could occur. What followed were three more perplexing incidents involving unknown objects. US fighters took down these objects over various locations, including Alaska, the Yukon here in Canada, and Michigan's Lake Huron. The fact that authorities admitted to having no idea about the origin or ownership of these objects deepens the mystery. However, it's the revelation of a fifth undisclosed incident over the Arctic Circle on February 1st that truly raises some eyebrows. The involvement of 8 or 9 UAPs detected over the Arctic led to the deployment of fighter jets in an attempt to intercept them. Now, these objects exhibited high-speed maneuvering, eluding the pursuit of military aircraft. Former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense Christopher Mellon corroborated this account. It's a clear indication of a larger issue: the lack of transparency and information from the Air Force regarding UAPs. Popular outlet News Nation reached out to both the Pentagon and NORAD, but the responses didn't provide satisfactory answers. NORAD denied allegations of scrambling fighter jets to intercept UAPs, attributing aircraft presence in the area to a training operation. Also, there's an unsettling silence surrounding the Alaska object come down on February 10th. Despite the White House's assurances that debris recovery efforts would be made, none of that was happening. So are these advanced technologies espionage activities, or something beyond our current understanding? Now come on, I can't be the only one getting a bad case of deja vu with this one. This is almost textbook with what the government did to cover up the Roswell case for years. Number 5. Camp Wilson. So we find ourselves in a truly remarkable moment as a new wave of UFO sightings takes center stage this year, and NASA can no longer afford to turn a blind eye to this unexplained phenomenon. Together, let's travel to the California desert, where an event unfolded that eerily echoes the famous 1997 Phoenix Lights incident. Now, if you're a fan of a channel, you've heard me talk about this before. If not, I've done plenty of other videos on it. Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, known for their groundbreaking investigations, brought to light footage from April of 2021, filmed over 29 palms. This sighting is far from your typical blurry UFO footage. The object, described as a giant black triangular shape with lights on its edges, was captured from multiple angles by 6 videos, with the accompanying high-exposure photograph revealing even more detail. Witnesses, including over 50 US Marines, were baffled by the object's sudden appearance, size, and behavior. Like I said before, the incident closely resembles the Phoenix Lights, where a massive triangular UFO was witnessed by thousands. It's important to note that the witnesses in this case aren't your average civilians. They are trained military personnel, artillerymen, and mortarmen who have dealt with illumination rounds in various military aircraft. And their unanimous conclusion? This was unlike anything they had ever encountered. Specifically speaking, a mortarman serving at Camp Wilson during this incident spoke with Corbell and took a high-exposure photo on his smartphone, which revealed the outline of, this object. It appears to be triangular, surrounded by lights spaced evenly around its edge in a V formation. Now, the mortarman, who was staying anonymous for safety reasons, described how one of his companions witnessed the object materialize from nowhere, saying, "One of my buddies was outside. He was looking at the sky and said it just kind of appeared out of nowhere. And we all came out and looked, and then slowly like 50 plus people started coming out and looking. Those lights appeared out of nowhere." Hey, he said it twice. He was adamant. He added that despite their military experience, none of the Marines could recognize the craft, and described their reaction as, you guessed it, baffled. Now, this man who filmed and photographed the object said, "If you look at the picture, you can see a black triangular shape. But the picture I took with the black triangular shape underneath the lights, it's definitely not any type of flare thing or illumination rounds." The witness said the apparent object remained stationary for approximately 10 minutes. But also, like, a Marine can be overheard on one of the videos saying that the triangle might have been in motion. Another Marine who saw it was serving as an artilleryman at the base when he saw the UFO. He firmly rejected any suggestions that the lights could be attributed to illumination rounds that could have been, sent off by artillery or any other mundane explanation he might have recognized, saying this was something none of us had ever seen before. It was a completely different color. The size and the illumination was different. He explained that when they fire off illumination rounds, it's one. You send it in the air and let it drop, and then you send off another one. This was like 5 next to each other, and they're kind of reddish, and our usual illumination rounds are a yellow-white color. The UFO's disappearance, just as illumination rounds were fired over it, adds a layer of mystery. Helicopters and a massive military convoy swiftly converged on the scene, leaving us to ponder what exactly was the government's involvement in all this. The parallels between this and Phoenix Lights are undeniable. Both incidents feature large triangular objects with lights hovering over military facilities and then inexplicably vanishing. It's a real head-scratcher. And as more details emerge, it's clear that NASA and other space agencies will need to address the growing body of evidence related to these unidentified aerial phenomena, which is something I've been saying for, How many months have I been here again? Number 4, the Go Fast video. So this video uploaded by the UFO investigative group To the Stars Academy of Arts and Sciences in March of 2018 was secured by a Freedom of Information Act request to the US government. The video was taken in 2015 off of the East Coast by an FA-18F fighter jet using the aircraft's onboard Raytheon AN/ASQ-228 Advanced Targeting Forward-Looking Infrared Pod, also known as ATF-LIR. I know myself too well, I'm going to trip over my tongue if I try saying that more than once, so it shall be called ATF for short. ATF is designed to allow pilots to track, target, and destroy targets on the ground at ranges of up to 40 miles. Now, it should be noted that ATF is good at spotting, but not engaging aerial targets. The video, nicknamed Go Fast by To the Stars, starts by explaining the various numbers and symbols that appear in the footage. Things like the aircraft's altitude, which was around 25,000 feet, and the fact that the ATF was pointed ahead and to the left of the Super Hornet. The readout also explains that the aircraft was traveling at 252 knots and in a 5-degree turn, and the unknown object was approximately 4.4 nautical miles away. The video shows the Super Hornet's weapon system operator repeatedly trying to acquire the UFO with the ATF's built-in auto tracker, which can, pick out an object and keep it centered on camera. After 2 tries, the weapon system officer, or WSO, shouts, "Whoa, got it!" To which another person, assumed to be the pilot, says, "Woohoo, whoa!" Not to sound like Mario or anything. "What the bleep is that thing?" the pilot asks. The WSO later says, "Oh my gosh, dude," to which the pilot replies, "Whoa. What is that, man?" Now yes, this is where skeptics might start asking, but Alexa, how is this unknown object different from weird government aircrafts we don't know about? Well, doubters, let me count thy ways. For starters, the UFO does not have any kind of hot exhaust trail that would be emitted by a conventional turbine engine, appearing to emit no heat on the ATF sensor. And secondly, the UFO doesn't have any visible wings or fins. Through my research, I've learned that even cruise missiles, such as the American Tomahawk or Russian Caliber, have small winglets that should be visible, and other missiles such as the Maverick anti-tank missile have stubby fins. The UFO appears oval-like and does not appear to flying nose first in the direction of travel. So once again, this was a video hidden and released by the government, so NASA, any comment? Number 3, Las Vegas aliens. Wanna go gambling? One sighting this year in Las Vegas shows shadowy figures lurking somewhere in the shot. You can watch the creepy footage, and see if you can spot them. This video is one of many supposed UFO sightings in Vegas just this year, with another sighting around the incident even involving a police officer. But this particular video shows a group of people looking kinda nervous as they look into a backyard behind a house, with the camera zooming in on a forklift truck which has shadowy figures looking inside. Now, there was a fair bit of confusion over where the extraterrestrials are in the video, but many people insist they're there, including me. For example, one comment wrote, "You can see their face, eyes glowing in the first tractor. Then look at the second one, you can see it peeking. They're on like 8 to 10 feet tall." Another wrote, "Face a little left of the center of the circle, you can see the eyes in the mouth." So this video could offer fresh insight into the plethora of encounters and sightings that Vegas has recently seen. Police body cam footage emerged in June showing lights hovering in the sky before plummeting to the ground in a suspected UFO crash landing sighting. Officers carried out an extensive search following reports of the mysterious figures, with no new evidence being uncovered. However, an eyewitness to the suspected crash landing spoke out and claimed they witnessed the whole thing, and even stumbled across an extraterrestrial. Apparently, my brother told me to look behind the forklift, and I did. I saw the alien creature. So when I saw it, it was a tall, skinny, lengthy creature, according to this YouTuber. He was a gray-greenish color, and when I looked it in the eyes, my whole body just froze. Bear in mind, I'm looking at his whole body. He has weird-looking feet and a big face and eyes. Yes, there could be numerous theories about the existence of alien life. Many people believe that the universe is simply too big for us to be alone, no matter how unlikely life is to develop. And with that, one theory about why we haven't encountered aliens is that we are being snubbed by the galactic community, either because we're too stupid or too nasty, which fair. Another interesting idea is that intelligent life has evolved several times in the universe. However, the lifespan of an intelligent civilization compared to the universe as a whole is so relatively short that intelligent civilizations might never have coexisted, as one goes extinct before another emerges. Let me know in the comments what your theories are. Number 2, CBP footage. US Customs and Border Protection, so CBP for short, quietly released a slew of records and videos of UFOs in August of this year. Specifically, 12 videos, which were released in response to a Freedom of Information Act request, all of which allegedly contained footage of UFOs. Now, all the footage is available for download and is accompanied by a UFO report titled The Pentagon's UAP Task Force, Mideast Security and Police Studies No. 183. The report is an older document said to be written by Frank Milburn and had something to do with the Begin Sadat Center for Strategic Studies at the Bar Ilan University. It's unclear precisely what the report has to do with the videos, which are pretty stunning on their own. One of the videos clearly shows an orb flying in close proximity to a plane, to the point where it appears the orb is chasing the plane through the sky. It's clear the object isn't moving like any other craft known to man. Most of the footage appears to show some type of orb following an aircraft or flying over land, and in one particular video, we can see one of these super fast objects glide over what appears to be some type of urban development or military base. So what are these orbs? We have no idea. They've shown up consistently around army installations and seem particularly fascinated with military activity. But other than that, we're still none the wiser as to what the heck is going on in our skies. The videos, some of which leaked already a few years back, have added fuel to the already raging fire of public discourse around flying saucers. One video in particular from 2013 shows an unidentifiable spot flying over an airport. The video is black and white and the footage is a little grainy, and the object, whatever it is, cruises over the airport at what appears to be a consistent rate, on a path taking it towards the ocean. It doesn't look at all that unusual. Like if you had already told me it was a bird or a small, UAP, I'd believe it. But the trouble starts when it gets near the water and appears to change shape. Shortly thereafter, the object seems to disappear, reappear, and then vanish for good. Some folks have interpreted that as the object having dipped beneath the water and emerged again, seemingly without losing any speed, which would be an impressive engineering achievement. But the video is so poor, it could just as easily be a digital artifact. Look, we've filled the space around us with a growing number of cameras and orbiting satellites, and they're recording all the time. More than that, we as humans are creating more technology, some of which isn't public knowledge. It was probably inevitable that we would start to catch things on camera that we can't explain. But there's a pretty big gap between, look at that weird thing, and I bet it came from across the stars. Still, there's some weird stuff going on in the sky, and hey NASA, we should probably devote some resources to figuring out what it is. With that in mind though, apparently Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senator Mike Rounds introduced an amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act, which would establish a structure for how and when UAP documents would be released to the public. So for example, for decades, many Americans have been fascinated by, what the heck's out there, and it's long past time they got some answers. The Americans, Canadians, everybody has a right to learn about technologies of unknown origins, non-human intelligence, and unexplainable phenomena. So apparently we're not only working to declassify what the government has previously learned about these, phenomena, but also to create a pipeline for future research to be made public. The bill requires that the government agencies turn over any UAP information they possess within 300 days of the act going into effect. All of which is to say we're at least like a year and a half out from seeing the extraterrestrial goods, so I'm gonna keep screaming at NASA if you don't mind. Number 1, George Aaga footage. So over the last year, if you couldn't tell by today, unexplainable objects have been appearing in the sky, baffling a lot of folks, especially pilots. So some pilots believe that these fast orbiting objects aren't satellites or known military aircraft. Specifically, pilot George Aaga remembers the event of what he claims was the most frightening experience of his life, where a circular object flew directly in front of his plane and whizzed directly by his window. He and his co-pilot Daniel were flying towards Medellin when they noticed the strange object. Now thankfully our pilot was able to turn his plane around and the unidentified object moved towards them. He also caught the first video of the stationary object. He was able to fly past the object, and he doesn't think it was a balloon because ideally the wind from the plane should have blown it away. The pilot believes that whatever he saw was, once again, not a balloon by any measure, as he was way too high up and it was way too cold for a balloon to float free. Soon after he posted the video on Twitter, it was uploaded by an Instagram handle named The Hood's Finest, and the video went viral and viewers speculated that what he saw was definitely a UFO. The pilot claims the aircraft was traveling at a speed of 300 kilometers an hour, with temperatures falling close to around 5. And in those conditions, mistaking a balloon or a bird for a UFO is very unlikely. Once again, hey NASA, wanna weigh in? Number 5, Italian Observatory. So back in 2007, astronomer Alberto Mayer, living in Busto Aresizio, I think I got that right, over in Italy, made an incredible discovery, almost completely by accident, which, hey, that's how most scientific progress gets made. Or maybe just me. He was adjusting the focus of his telescope when he spotted and tracked a UFO as it flew across the surface of the moon. Now the video shows the portions of the moon that he was focused on in close-up mode, while tracking a solid black object as it flew over the surface. Now sure, I could just describe what is going on in this video, but I could also let you see it and decide for yourselves, which makes a lot more sense in my brain. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, so here's roughly, here the one, 24,000 words worth of content if my math makes sense, which is about a 50-50 chance. Take a look! Pretty weird, eh? So the round black object is tracked as he catches, it just after it passes the Wallace crater. And today this is how I'm learning parts of the moon were named. It hovers and hesitates before making a sudden change of path at an exact 45-degree angle. The precision and control is what gives people pause, since it seems to move as if it's being controlled, and with such mechanical dominance that it seems like it has to be something being intentionally driven, not just a strange rock floating throughout the stars. Commenters on the video pointed out that the object doesn't decrease in size at all, suggesting that the object isn't that close to the moon, and rules out the theory that this is a shadow on the surface of the moon from a large object. Now look, I'm one girl. I'm only capable of so much. The science stuff, kind of outside of my range of expertise, but I can confirm and offer my, speculation on UFO videos. And this is something. To quote one of my favorite phrases at the moment, I suppose, to be determined. Number 4, the footage the Pentagon refuses to release from Alaska. So between February 4th to the 12th, earlier this year, 4 different unidentified objects were forcibly taken down from the skies over Alaska, South Carolina, the Yukon, and the Great Lakes. While cockpit audio from F-16 pilots who, took down the UFO over Lake Huron was released, a spokesman for the Pentagon has confirmed that footage will not be released in the near future, being quoted directly as saying, "I can tell you that there is not currently any images or video footage that we can release. The imagery remains classified and I have not received any information as to the potential timeline on a change in classification." So usual government speak. This refusal is a drastic difference in comparison to the quick release of an Air Force photo of what was believed to be a Chinese spy balloon that was brought down at the same time over on the East Coast, and footage from where a Russian plane appeared to intentionally collide with a drone last March. Noted UFO researcher John Greenwald requested the footage and photos of the UFO, takedowns be released via a Freedom of Information Act, with the Pentagon claiming national security exemptions to deny this request. Because, that's not scary at all. An Air Force official said that the images would reveal cryptology and national security concerns if released. And even the, Canadian RCMP are playing coy, having ended their public search for the remains. Now look, I don't know about you folks at home, but that sounds pretty dang suspicious to me, and I think I know what I'm talking about at this point. So does anybody want to take a random trip to the Yukon just to sightsee? Totally not to recover UFO debris or anything suspicious? I'll start the car. I got room for a couple of us. I drive a nice big SUV. Number 3, the Guy Hottel memo. So it's the most requested document in the FBI's archives, right after the photo of Elvis and Nixon riding with an alien. I wish I could make this stuff up, but the file has been checked out roughly 1 million times in the last 2 years alone. So as far as cagey cover-ups go, this one's fairly out in the open, but that doesn't make it any less invigorating or confounding. It's a single page, an unconfirmed report that the FBI never even followed up on. The file in question? So it's a memo dated back to March of 1950, authored by one Guy Hottel, who served as the director of the FBI field office in Washington, D.C., addressed to FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover. I know you all know that name. So in the memo, Guy was relaying a story seen by an Air Force pilot about something bizarre they had seen in New Mexico. And this was right around the time of Roswell fever. The memo describes flying saucers, circular in shape with raised centers, approximately 50 feet in diameter. It goes on to say that inside each saucer was a flight crew, each occupied by 3 bodies of roughly human shape, but only 3 feet tall, and bandaged in a manner similar to blackout suits used by speed flyers and test pilots. The memo goes on to claim that the crafts were found because an aircraft radar had interfered with the controlling mechanisms of the saucer, and concludes by saying, "No further evaluation was ever attempted." I don't know about you, but it seems like this should be a significantly bigger deal than that. No further evaluation? Oh, that's fine. Somebody in the Air Force claims they saw a series of flying saucers piloted by tiny men in shiny spacesuits, not even 3 years after the Roswell incident, kind of took over New Mexico. But hey, it's nothing. At least I guess there's some comfort in knowing that the government has always behaved like this when it comes to investigating and reporting on possible UAP and UFO sightings. I believe it's worth mentioning that Project Blue Book was launched not even 2 years later, investigating UFO sightings in the Air Force, so once again, giving the government my usual dose of side-eye, and yo, what the heck? Number 2, Ryan Graves' report. So Ryan Graves is a studied Air Force pilot, an FA-18 Super Hornet pilot specifically, who has flown the skies for 10 years, and has seen countless UFOs in his time flying for the Navy, seen a lot of things he can't explain. He has recently spoke out saying these things would be out there all day. Keeping an aircraft in the air requires a significant amount of, the speeds that we have observed. 12 hours in the air is about 11 hours longer than we'd expect. On one particular incident, back in late 2014, a Super Hornet pilot nearly crashed into one of these unknown objects. Some of these objects were caught on plane camera, and so, because it's me, we have some of that footage for you today. The pilot and his wingman were flying in tandem about 100 feet apart over the Atlantic East when something flew between them. Now, Lieutenant Graves said that the object looked like a sphere encasing a cube. The pilots were concerned because they were, a covert drone program, and government officials wouldn't have had them flying around fighter jets for fear of collision. It was this that had the Navy concerned that perhaps there was more to investigate with this particular encounter. But what was truly unsettling the pilots, besides the fact that there was an intense possible safety crash, was that these crafts were accelerating to hypersonic speeds, stopping and turning on a dime, which is not really something that human pilots are capable of. So what did the pilots think they were dealing with? Graves did speak out saying, we have helicopters that can hover. We have an aircraft that can fly at 30,000 feet and right at the surface. But combine all that in one vehicle of some type with no jet engine, no exhaust plume? That's not possible. So what do we think, folks? This seems like something worth digging into, right? Suspicious? Hands up. Who's with me? I knew y'all would. Number 1, the 2004 series of spottings. So on November 14th of 2004, Lieutenant Alex Dietrich was piloting her FA-18 Super Hornet. Yep, that's a very popular plane, when she observed an oblong shape hovering over the water. It leapt into motion, skimming 500 to 1,000 feet over the waves at around 500 knots. And for those of us Canucks, that's around 925 kilometers per hour, which is faster than I can get my vehicle. I like to get it to like 120 and that's it. The fighter jet's onboard radar couldn't detect the object, but Alex's weapon systems operator in the rear seat, whose name isn't public for safety reasons, witnessed it as well. Now Alex quoted her recollection as, we were trying to call out what we were seeing to each other, and to make sure everybody else is seeing it. It's moving so erratically and so fast that our voices, our minds, and then our radio calls can't even keep up with it. Now look, the majority of credible modern day UFO sightings can be credited to those that work in the Air Force, and it should be noted that military pilots are trained at what they call REAS, short for, reconnaissance. Every time I say it, somebody corrects me in the comments, so I'm not even going to try this time. And referring more specifically in this case to the art of recognizing aircrafts by their shapes, paint schemes, unit insignia, and more. On one of the other Super Hornets that launched was Lieutenant Commander Chad Underwood, who was able to capture the object on an infrared camera. It was about 40 feet long, round and smooth, and quickly received the nickname Tic Tac. Yep, you guessed it, this is my favorite UFO story. Now all of the footage that the US government has confirmed as authentic and, unexplained, speak for itself, since I know we have the clip handy. And around this time, starting on November 10th to be exact, Gary Voorhees, a petty officer on the USS Princeton guided missile cruiser, had been reporting apparitions on his radar screens in the same area. Triple checking his equipment before he made his report, and being the main technician responsible for said equipment, along with having 6 years of Navy experience at the time, he described what he was seeing as impossible. In just seconds, an object had dropped to the waterline from 60,000 feet, hovered, and then zipped away at high velocity, making right angle turns that were quoted as being confounding and defying gravity. Hey, relax, Wicked fans, I'm right here with you. The objects returned for the next week, with Voorhees quoted as saying, "I was able to see it on the horizon, during the night and during the day, and it was definitely a glowing object. Could I tell you for 100% certainty what exactly it was we were tracking? Nope." Now footage of this event used to exist, with Gary being able to vividly describe his memories, but has since been completely scrubbed from the internet. So, hey NASA, wanna, pipe up? Number 5, you saw what at the airport? Flight operations at Berwyn Mountains International Airport in Imphal, Manipur were halted for several hours on Sunday after what was described by officials as an unidentified flying object, good old UFOs, was seen hovering above the airport. I've got a direct quote: "Due to the sighting of an unidentified flying object within Imphal controlled airspace, 2 flights have been diverted and 3 departing flights have been delayed. Flight operations commenced after receipt of clearance from the competent authority," according to Airport Director Shipeni Kaixing. Sources said the UFO was sighted by a pilot of an Indigo flight that was about to depart at around 2:20 in the afternoon, and all flight operations were immediately suspended but resumed around 6 p.m. Now the UFO was said to have been visible until around 4 p.m. We've got another quote: "I have no idea what was going on. I was informed that the flight could not take off because there was some kind of object hovering in the sky, an unnamed aerial vehicle of some sort. Officials of the flight operator, however, were not sure what the object was," according to Bhaskar Salam, a passenger. Now Imphal West Superintendent of Police Kush Shivakanta Singh said the object hovered for several hours, baffling everyone. He said, "We have no idea what the object was and how big it was. It hovered in the sky for hours and then disappeared. The IAF scrambled its Rafale fighter aircraft to search for them, according to defense sources, and they further said the aircraft equipped with advanced sensors carried out low-level flying over the suspected area, but it didn't find anything there." So after the first aircraft returned, 1 more Rafale fighter was sent for the search, but the UFO wasn't seen around the area. The agencies concerned are trying to find out the details of the UFO, as there are videos of the UFO over the airport. By the way, fun fact, as of 2023, India is one of the most populated countries in the world, and multiple flights diverted, so everybody around there had eyes on it. There has to be good footage somewhere, I'm just hoping it gets out here. As of the time of this recording, we just have a little bit. India has a legitimate government. They had legitimate aerospace safety concerns. Shutting down an entire international airport is a huge deal. Trust me, I've been to Pearson. So meanwhile, the mainstream media is claiming that it was drones. The announcement they lost the UFO was buried under the announcement that the government of India is shutting down the internet in the state of Manipur for the next 5 days because of the current violence in the region. Now the online general public has made a suggestion that doesn't make sense to me, because once again they're saying oh, drones. But how would an area besieged by crazy violence be in possession of one of only 2 multiple $1,000 drones that could fly for 3.5 hours and break the law without punishment? I don't know a lot about drones, but I did ask some friends who do a lot of drone footage, and they couldn't even think of a single quadrocopter style drone, which is the only one that could stay in place for that long, that would have anything close to to enough battery power to have that kind of intensity to fly for more than a few hours. So if this is a drone, somebody, somewhere, somehow steroided the battery life. Like, it's just not possible. Yes, it could be a weather balloon. We've all heard that explanation before, because that's what it always is when the government doesn't know what something is. There's probably never going to be enough evidence to say one way or the other, so it'll eventually be designated a weather balloon by one government or another. So I'm calling it now. Come back in, like 2 weeks, check this video. Alexa Morgan is saying it now. Somebody's going to say it was a weather balloon. Number 4, the 2015 Gulf of Mexico. A video uploaded 8 years ago to the interwebs is just starting to get some traction now thanks to a recent Reddit post. User 7R34 wrote in the description, a friend of his took this video on his phone. The video is clear, shape and lights are visible, mentioning specifically pink flashing lights. Okay, I love pink, I'm a little biased. He sent the video from his cell phone through email, which is why it's compressed to a lower quality, and the uploader was trying to figure out how to get the footage back to its original quality, but admits he isn't the best with technology, and hey, neither am I sometimes. Thankfully I've got an iPhone, it does it for me. Apparently the platform location is a mile away from the Flower Garden Reef and 130 miles from offshore, and the UFO is around 8 miles away from that. So when the object started coming closer, it seemed as if our friend stopped recording, and apparently according to the uploader, he got nervous and headed indoors, which, like, I don't blame you. If I saw something weird in the sky, I'd be running away as well. The flight characteristics reminded him of the way an RC drone flies, but at the time, no civilian setup could go that far. Not to mention, once again, the battery power required for the trip. Back in the day, that just wasn't possible for a drone. Trust me, I know somebody that had one, like one of the original drones, just not possible. Number 3, Canadian Triangle. Okay, not Canadian Tire, folks. Relax, relax. This is not a reward system. And yes, I'll be the first to admit we don't know as much about this footage as some of the other entries on today's list, so bear with me here. I found this video also while surfing Reddit earlier, and while the site does tend to be the Wild West for finding credible information at times, I think my nonsense filter is pretty decent at this point. Also remember, this is part 4. We are 20 entries in. I gotta find something. Around 4 months ago, user CuriousAd5774 said, "Don't got much to say about this video other than when my dad originally sent it to me, I felt like it had to be a UFO and there's nothing else that seemed to explain it. Canada is notorious for sightings, and I myself have seen a few. This was taken way before drones were being used regularly, and I'd say this video is easily 10 years old." Alrighty folks, time to break this down. As a Canadian, I feel like I'm an expert now. While watching the video, you can see a number of different orbs in a dark sky, and the way they move and interact cannot be explained by science. Now, user Death Perception has an idea of what it could be, saying, "This is pretty good footage. Yeah, it's dark and an old video, but if it's real, then it's clearly the typical black triangle that's been seen since at least the 90s. Yet another user, only capital 5393, was able to relate to the footage, saying it was exactly what their brother and mother described way back in the 90s. So we're validating the other point. They were driving in New Hampshire in the wee hours of the morning, going south, and this UFO came and followed them for a while on the highway. Now there was nobody else around, and it got above them and just sort of followed them. The lights are exactly what they described though. How they kinda spin in a circle around the center light. Now this user has never seen anything what they described until that point. Now they would have sent this video to the other folks to, corroborate, but sadly their mom passed away in 2015. She was an Air Force flight nurse during Vietnam and had never seen anything like it before. She'd actually heard rumors about UFOs while being in the Air Force, and the sighting made her quite interested in the subject. She reported it and joined MUFON, and at one meeting she sat at the same table with Betty Hill and talked with them. So they really wish that their mom was still there to show her it, which, hey, this is fascinating. Like, the proof is there, folks. The proof is there. I keep saying it. It's there. Number 2, now you see it, now you don't. So back in 2014, the disappearance of the Boeing 777 with 227 passengers and 12 crew members on board led to a search effort stretching from the Indian Ocean, west of Australia, to Central Asia. So for context, if you didn't know about this, because I totally forgot about it, Flight 370 took off at 12:41 a.m. local time and reached a cruising altitude of 10,700 meters at 1:01 a.m. The aircraft communication addressing and reporting system, which transmitted data about the aircraft's performance, sent its last transmission at 1:07 and was subsequently switched off. The last voice communication from the crew occurred at 1:19, and at 1:21 the plane's transponder, which communicated with air traffic control, switched off, just as the plane was about to enter Vietnamese airspace over the South China Sea. At 1:30, Malaysian military and civilian radar began tracking the plane as it turned around and then flew southwest over the Malay Peninsula and then northwest over the Strait of Malacca. At 2:22, Malaysian military radar lost contact with the plane over the Andaman Sea, and Inmarsat satellite in geostationary orbit over the Indian Ocean received hourly signals from Flight 370 and last detected the plane at 8:11. So initial searches for the plane concentrated on the South China Sea. After it was determined that Flight 370 had turned to the west shortly after the transponder was switched off, search efforts moved to the Strait of Malacca and the Andaman Sea. On March 15th, a week after the plane had disappeared, the contact was disclosed. Analysis of the signal could not locate the plane precisely, but did determine the plane might have been anywhere on two arcs, one stretching from Java southward into the Indian Ocean, southwest of Australia, and the other stretching northward across Asia from Vietnam to Turkmenistan. The search area was then expanded to the Indian Ocean southwest of Australia on the southern arc and Southeast Asia, western China, the Indian subcontinent, and Central Asia on the northern arc. Now on March 24th, the Malaysian Prime Minister announced that based on analysis of the final signals, Inmarsat and the UK Air Accidents Investigation Branch had concluded that the flight crashed in a remote part of the Indian Ocean, which made it unlikely that anyone on board survived. But are we actually sure? Flight Officer Jack Chen on board a Royal Australian Air Force flight during the search for the wreckage was hampered by the remote location of the crash site. So beginning on April 6th, an Australian ship detected several possible acoustic pings, possibly from the black box of the plane, around 2,000 miles northwest of Perth, which is in Western Australia. Now further analysis by the AAIB of the Inmarsat data also found a partial signal from the plane at 8:19 a.m., consistent with the location of the acoustic pings, the last of which were heard on April 8th. If the signals were from Flight 370, the flight recorder was likely at the end of its battery life. Further searches were conducted using a robotic submarine, however the pings had been spread over a wide area, so the submarine didn't find any debris, and tests found that a faulty cable in the acoustic equipment could have produced the pings. We didn't find the first piece of debris, by the way, until July 29th of 2015, when the right wing was discovered on a French island, about 37 kilometers west of the Indian Ocean area that was being searched by Australian authorities. Over the next year and a half, 26 more pieces of debris were found on the shores of Tanzania, Mozambique, South Africa, Madagascar, and more. 3 of the 27 pieces were positively identified as coming from Flight 370, and 17 were thought to have likely come from the plane. 2 pieces came from the cabin interior, suggesting that the plane had broken up, but whether the plane broke up in the air or on impact with the ocean could not be determined. A study of the wing flaperon and a piece of the right wing flap showed that the plane had not undergone a controlled descent, so the plane had not been guided to a water landing. Some researchers note that the flight could have struck the water vertically, a possibility in which the results of one modeling study conducted before the flaperon's discovery could explain, the lack of evidence. The debris locations were used to narrow the search area and the ocean, since some possible crash sites would have been unlikely to produce debris. Now here's the thing, there's recent footage believed to be from the day of the incident floating around the interwebs, and if you look closely, the plane just blips out of existence, so I'd love to know why. My theory, there was a UFO up there, they were diving away from it, and also, why haven't we found any human remains? I have questions. Number 1, Aviano UFO. So this footage has been around for some time and was released in the US by researcher Paola Harris at the 36th Annual International UFO Symposium in Denver, Colorado back in 2005. Now Paola lives in Italy and was given a 4th generation copy by an anonymous source who told us the video was recorded in Italy near the infamous Aviano Air Base, which is, kind of the center of a UFO controversy. According to Paola, the original videographer remains unknown, and the object seems to be terrestrial in origin, more properly some kind of military prototype, according to some folks that might think that's what it might be. Now the feature in which the disc disappears at the end raises questions for the Italian researchers, and yes, that's why she thinks the military might be involved. But my theory, something up there. Now, she thinks it's very clearly a flight test, since the videographer was in position focusing the camera where the disc appears initially. The object isn't CGI, and no one has been able to clearly state what it is. So my thoughts, UFOs. Number 5, the Chicago O'Hare Airport sightings. So at around 4:15 p.m. on November 7th of 2006, federal authorities at Chicago O'Hare International Airport received a report that a group of 12 airport employees were witnessing a metallic saucer-shaped craft hovering over gate C-17. The object was first spotted by a ramp employee who was pushing back United Airlines Flight 446, which was departing Chicago for Charlotte, North Carolina. Now the employee made the flight crew aware of the mysterious object above their aircraft, and this unknown craft was also witnessed by the pilots, airline management, and mechanics. So none of the air traffic controllers saw the object, and it didn't show up on radar, but witnesses described it as completely silent, 6 to 24 feet in diameter, in dark gray in color, so kind of like my vehicle. Several independent witnesses outside of the airport also saw the object. One described a disc-shaped craft hovering over the airport, stating that it was obviously not clouds, since the object flew through the clouds at high velocity, leaving a clear blue hole in the cloud layer, which closed itself shortly after the events. According to the Chicago Tribune's John Hilkovich, the disc was visible for approximately 5 minutes and was seen by close to a dozen United Airlines employees, ranging from pilots to supervisors, who heard chatter on the radio and raced out to view it. Both United Airlines and the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA for short, initially denied that they had any information on the O'Hare UFO sighting until the Chicago Tribune newspaper filed a Freedom of Information Act Act request. The FAA then ordered an internal review of air traffic communications tapes to comply with the Chicago Tribune request, which subsequently uncovered a call by the United supervisor to an FAA manager in the airport tower concerning the UFO sighting. Now, if I haven't made myself obvious by now, I hate cover-ups, so I'm glad the Freedom of Information request was rightfully granted. UFO investigators have argued that the FAA's refusal to look into the incident contradicts the agency's mandate to investigate possible security breaches at American airports, such as in this case. The National Aviation Reporting Center on Anomalous Phenomena published a 155-page report on the sighting and has called for a government inquiry in improved energy sensing technologies. Because if an airborne object can hover for several minutes over a busy airport but not be registered on radar or seen visually from the control tower, it creates a potential threat to human safety. Number 4, the Go Fast video. So this video, uploaded by the UFO investigative group to the STARS Academy of Arts and Sciences in March of 2018, was secured by a, you guessed it, Freedom of Information Act request to the US government. The video was taken in 2015 off of the East Coast by an FA-18F fighter jet using the aircraft's onboard Raytheon AN/ASQ-288 Advanced Targeting Forward-Looking Infrared Pod, also known as ATF-LIR. That was a lot of words, and I know myself too well. I'll trip over my tongue if I try saying that a lot, so it shall be called ATF for short if I have to talk about it again. Well, there we are. ATF is designed to allow pilots to track, target, and destroy targets on the ground at ranges of up to 40 miles. It should be noted that ATF is good at spotting, but not exactly engaging aerial targets. Now the video, nicknamed Go Fast by To the Stars, starts by explaining the various numbers and symbols that appear in the footage. Things like the aircraft's altitude, which was around 25,000 feet, and the fact that the ATF was pointed ahead and to the left of the Super Hornet. Now the readout also explains that the aircraft was traveling at 252 knots, and in a 5-degree turn, and the unknown object was approximately 4.4 nautical miles away. Now the video shows the Super Hornet's weapon system operator repeatedly trying to acquire the UFO with the ATF's built-in auto tracker, which can pick out an object and keep it centered on camera. After 2 tries, the weapon system officer, or WSO, shouts, "Whoa, got it," to which another person assumed to be the pilot says, "Woohoo, whoa, what the bleep is that thing?" the pilot asks. The WSO later says, "Oh my gosh, dude," to which the pilot replies, "Whoa, what is that, man?" Now this is where the skeptics start asking, okay, but Alexa, how is this unknown object different from weird government aircrafts we don't know about? Well, doubters, let me count thy ways, because apparently I'm an expert at this point. For starters, the UFO doesn't have any kind of hot exhaust trail that would be emitted by a conventional turbine engine, appearing to emit no heat on the ATF sensor, and secondly, the UFO doesn't have any visible wings or fins. Through my research, I've learned that even cruise missiles such as the American Tomahawk or Russian Caliber have small winglets that should be visible, and other missiles such as the Maverick anti-tank missile have little stubby fins. This UFO is oval-like and does not appear to fly nose first in the direction of travel, so the science doesn't make sense to me. But hey, if you're an expert, let me know. Correct me. Go nuts. Number 3, the 2004 series of spottings. So on November 14th of 2004, Lieutenant Alex D. Trick was piloting her FA-18 Super Hornet when she observed an oblong object hovering over the water. It leapt into motion, skimming 500 to 1,000 feet over the waves at around 500 knots. Now the fighter jet's onboard radar couldn't detect the object, but Alex's weapon system operator in the rear seat witnessed it as well. Alex has quoted her recollection as, "We were trying to call out what we were seeing to each other and to make sure everybody else is seeing it. It's moving so erratically and so fast that our voices, our minds, and then even our radio calls can't keep up with it." So here's the thing, the majority of credible modern day UFO sightings can be credited to those that work in the Air Force, and if I haven't mentioned it already, it should be noted that military pilots are trained to see all the aircrafts by their shapes, paint schemes, unit insignia, they're trained to recognize this stuff and know it off the top of their head. On one of the other Super Hornets that launched behind Alex was Lieutenant Commander Chad Underwood, who was able to capture the object on an infrared camera. It's around 40 feet long, round and smooth, and quickly received the nickname Tic Tac. Now all of the footage that the US government has confirmed as authentic and unexplained speak for itself, since I know we have the clip handy. And around this time, starting on November 10th to be exact, Gary Voorhees, a petty officer on the USS Princeton guided missile cruiser, had been reporting apparitions on his radar screens in the same area. Triple checking his equipment before he made his report, and being the main technician responsible for the equipment, along with having 6 years of Navy experience at the time, he described what he was seeing as impossible. In just seconds, an object had dropped to the waterline from 60,000 feet, hovered, and then zipped away at high velocity, making right-angle turns that were quoted as being confounding and defying gravity. Not alphaba. The objects returned for the next week, with Voorhees quoted as saying, "I was able to see it on the horizon during the night and during the day, and it was definitely a glowing object. Could I tell you for 100% certainty what it was we were tracking?" Now footage of this event used to exist, with Gary being able to vividly describe his memories, but has since been scrubbed from the internet. I'm not surprised, you shouldn't be either. Things tend to just go poof. whew, when they're a little too true. Number 2, the Washington Flap. At 11:40 p.m. on Saturday, July 19th of 1952, Edward Nugent, an air traffic controller at the Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport, try saying that 5 times fast, spotted 7 objects on his radar. The objects were around 24 kilometers south-southwest of the city, not following any established flight paths, and no known aircrafts were in the area. Now his superior, Harry Barnes, a senior air traffic controller at said airport, watched the objects on the radar scope, later writing that they knew immediately that a very strange situation existed. What do you know? The movements were completely radical compared to those of an ordinary aircraft. Harry had 2 controllers check Edward's radar, and they found it was working normally. He then called National Airport's radar-equipped control tower, and the controllers there said that they had unidentified blips on their radar screen and saw a hovering bright light in the sky that was moving at speeds they couldn't understand. Now at this point, other objects appeared in all sectors of the radar scope, and when they moved over the White House and the United States Capitol, Harry then called the Andrews Air Force Base, which was located around 10 miles away. Although they reported they had no unusual objects on their radar, an airman soon called the base's control tower to report the sighting of a strange object. Airman William Brady, who was in the tower, saw an object which appeared to be like an orange ball of fire, trailing a tail, saying it was unlike anything he had ever seen before. Where have I heard that phrase today? Now as he tried to alert the other personnel in the tower, the strange object took off at an unbelievable speed. On one of National Airport's runways, pilot S.C. Pierman was waiting in the cockpit of his plane for permission to take off, and after spotting what he believed to be a meteor, he was told that the control tower's radar had detected unknown objects closing in on his position. Now he observed 6 objects that he described as white, tailless, fast-moving lights over a 14-minute period. He was in radio contact with Harry during his sighting, and Harry later reported that each sighting coincided with a pip that could be seen near his plane. When he reported the lights streaked off at a high speed and disappeared on their scope. Meanwhile, back at the Andrews Air Force Base, Staff Sergeant Charles Davenport observed an orange-red light to the south where the light would appear to stand still, then make an abrupt change in direction and altitude, with the phenomena happening over several times. Now at one point, both radar centers at National Airport and the radar at Andrews Air Force Base were tracking an object hovering over a radio beacon. The object vanished in all 3 radar centers at the same time. At 3 a.m., shortly before 2 United States Air Force F-94 Starfire jet fighters from the Newcastle Air Force Base in Delaware arrived over Washington, all of the objects vanished from the radar at National Airport. However, when the jets ran low on fuel and left, the objects returned, which convinced Harry that the UFOs were monitoring radio traffic and behaving accordingly. The objects were last detected by radar at 5:30 a.m., and the government later tried dismissing the events of that day on a temperature blip, but those who were present have been adamant otherwise, and I'm gonna believe them. Number 1, the Aviano UAP. Jonathan Lace, spokesman for the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, SCU for short, explained the organization believes the most compelling footage of anomalous activity ever was taken by a Homeland Security aircraft over Puerto Rico on April 25th of 2013. I'll let you folks make up your own minds in the comments, by the way. The video was captured at around 9:20 p.m. on that fateful day as an unknown object flew across the runway of the Rafael Hernandez Airport in Aguadilla and was caught on infrared camera by a U.S. Customs and Border Protection aircraft, the footage of which was leaked to SCU by an anonymous source. The eerie footage shows an object believed to be up to 5 feet in length, moving at speeds of up to 120 miles per hour, getting close to the ground before seemingly plunging into the ocean and splitting into 2. In a 50-page report, the SCU has made notes that no bird, no balloon, no aircraft, and no known drones have that capability. It also appears to not disturb the water when plunging beneath and then re-emerging from the surface, a phenomenon known as trans-medium travel. SCU investigators said the object appears to be of unknown origin after spending 1,000 hours researching it. It is claimed the pilots of a DHC-8 turboprop spotted a red light over the ocean. They then contacted the control tower, who told them they did not know the identity of the object, and then the object's lights went out as it approached the shore. The plane then emerged from its thermal imaging camera. The plane then engaged its thermal imaging camera and went on to follow the UAP. The SCU report concluded by saying that the video is the best documentation of an unknown aerial and submerged nautical object exhibiting advanced technology ever seen. They have since called for the release of more data from the Pentagon, after the release of a lot of footage recently. And in their statement, the SCU said that they believe all government data regarding unidentified aerospace objects should be made available to the public to be openly investigated by the broader scientific community, provided that such data does not compromise sources or methods of collection. A full scientific investigation of such, information would be able to uncover valuable information relating to both national security and advancement of our understanding of physics, aerospace engineering, and our world. Here's to hoping the Pentagon listens someday and releases that footage. If I've said it once, I've said it a million times, but they really need to stop being so cagey about what they release. They really don't release information unless they're forced to. And while I hate sounding like a broken record, they need to do better.
Number 5. Italy and the Vatican. Many believe that one of the earliest documented UFO incidents occurred in 1931 in Magenta, Italy, within the Lombardy region. The UFO, initially resembling a lenticular disc, crashed and morphed into a bell or acorn shape upon impact. Surprisingly, the artifact contained no biological remnants, puzzling the Italians who sought clarification from the Germans, suspecting it might be one of their experimental crafts. Italian researchers later uncovered documents revealing the incident, despite initial suppression. The Germans disclaimed ownership of the strange object, but collaboration between Italian and German scientific and military entities ensued as both nations were intrigued by the unusual artifact. The collaboration's specifics remain unclear, but it suggests a level of scientific and military exchange prompted by the discovery. The Italians, perplexed by the crash, reached out to the Germans for clarification, and it sparked joint investigations into the mysterious object. The Germans denied ownership, of course, but this collaboration hints at the international curiosity surrounding such occurrences and the cross-border efforts to understand them. While details about the discovery remain uncertain, historical records indicate that the crashed vehicle measured approximately 20 feet by 10 feet, making it sizable but not excessively large. Questions regarding its nature as a drone or a piloted craft were dismissed, as there was no evidence of occupants inside the artifact. After the crash, the military intervened, relocating the object to a designated storage location. The United States eventually obtained access to the artifact towards the end of World War II, marking one of the early instances of documented UFO recovery by the US government. Human intelligence operations were informally conducted by various entities, including the Vatican, which played a role in intelligence gathering for the United States. This background helps explain why the Pope became involved in the investigation of the UFO crash. Over the decades, insights gained from these programs have influenced various classified projects, contributing to national defense innovations. Number 4. Lonnie Zamora Incident. In the spring of 1964, Lonnie Zamora claims to have seen two people standing beside a large, shiny object that later launched into the air with a roaring burst of fire. Lonnie gained a significant amount of attention from the media, UFO organization and investigators, and the Air Force. Lonnie Zamora found himself in an open field after seeing what he assumed to be a motor crash from a distance. Zamora continued pursuing the crash until he saw a blaze of fire. Zamora then assumed that an explosion had occurred, so he decided to investigate the incident from a distance. It was then that Lonnie noticed a white, shiny object, originally assumed to have been an overturned white car. He described the object being oval and likened the material to aluminum. Many theories have been provided in an attempt to explain what Lonnie saw that night. Some said it was merely a mirage of the star Canopus. Others suggested that it was a lunar landing test by humans, not aliens. The president of New Mexico Tech claimed that it was just a prank put on by some of the students, saying it was just a balloon and a candle, not high-tech alien equipment. In 1966, the country's commerce president decided to make the location more accessible to tourists. They installed walkways and signage, hoping to attract alien enthusiasts from all over the country. But the tourist destination is actually not placed at the exact site. In fact, it's about a quarter-mile away. Locals claim the decision to move the pathways was due to radioactivity on the original site. Number 3. Las Vegas. In late April, the city of Las Vegas found itself at the center of a peculiar event when local police responded to reports of two unidentified entities falling from the sky. Coinciding with these alarming reports was a family's claim of encountering a non-human presence in their backyard. The incident unfolded on the night of April 30th, 2023, with police responding to the family's call about a strange-looking, abnormally large creature standing at an astonishing 10 feet tall in their own backyard. A colleague had reported a similar sky sighting just 8 minutes earlier, prompting the officers to acknowledge the unusual coincidence and take it somewhat more seriously. And then, yet another resident reported a 100% non-human object on their property, accompanied by separate body camera footage capturing a glowing object in the night sky. About 40 minutes later, yet another resident reported two unknown entities in his backyard, describing them as 8 to 10 feet tall and resembling sci-fi aliens with large eyes and mouths. The bold declaration that these entities were 100% not human added to the perplexity of the situation. The police conducted a thorough investigation on the property for several days before ultimately closing the case, leaving many questions unanswered. To put the Las Vegas incident into context, a declassified annual report from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence revealed that the US government has received over 510 UFO reports between late 2004 and mid-2022. The Las Vegas occurrence contributes to this expanding body of mysterious and unexplained events, further fueling ongoing interest and speculation regarding the nature of these unidentified entities and their potential origins. The government's newfound acknowledgement of a significant number of UFO reports underscores a broader pattern of heightened public awareness and reporting reporting of unusual aerial phenomena. The looming mystery of what exactly transpired in Las Vegas on that very strange and very unsettling night lingers, leaving the local community and the broader public in impatient anticipation of potential revelations about the true nature of these large unidentified entities. Number 2. Rendlesham Forest Incident. The Rendlesham Incident was a series of unexplained lights being sighted near Rendlesham Forest in Suffolk, England. The first sighting occurred in the early morning on December 26, 1980, when a security patrol saw lights descending into the nearby forest. He originally thought it was a fallen aircraft, but upon entering the forest to investigate, they witnessed a glowing object that was metallic in appearance with colored lights. As they continued to approach the object, it appeared to be moving among the trees and caused the animals on a nearby farm to go into a frenzy. The police were called, but the police reported that the lights could only be seen from a lighthouse miles away on the coast. The next morning, servicemen found small impressions on the ground in a triangular pattern, along with burn marks and broken branches. The local police investigated the impressions and rationalized it to be an animal. On the 28th of December, the deputy base commander, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt, visited the site with servicemen early in the day. They conducted radiation readings in the triangle and in the surrounding area using standard U.S. military radiation survey meters. They also detected a small burst over half a mile away from the landing site. On this night, the lights were seen again. 3 star-like lights were in the sky, 2 north and 1 south, about 10 degrees above the horizon. Halt actually recorded the events on a microcassette recorder, and the transcription is available publicly. He described the lights as red sun-like light, adding, "It's like the pupil of an eye looking at you, winking, and the flash is so bright to the starscope that, it almost burns your eye." The men actually drew diagrams of what the lights looked like, showing how they appeared. The drawings paired with the tapes creates a very well-documented sighting, so it's strange that no official explanations have been made about it. The lights have been attributed by astronomers as natural debris that was burning up over southern England during the time of the sightings, but still, people are very skeptical of this explanation, as no meteors were predicted to be visible from southern England at this time. I mean, come on, that is suspicious. Astronomers love to tell people when there's an astral phenomenon occurring. I mean, they actually never stop mentioning them. How many times have you heard, "It's a meteor shower tonight"? A lot, because people always know. Why would this incident be the outlier? Number 1, Roswell. The Roswell incident is generously and fairly credited as a pivoting point for the culture surrounding aerial phenomenons today. In 1947, an object crash-landed on ranch land in Roswell, New Mexico. Mac Brazel and his son were driving across their land when they came across the wreckage. Brazel described the scene as a large area of bright wreckage made up of rubber strips, tinfoil, and rather tough paper and sticks. Perplexed by the strange assortment of items that had randomly appeared, Brazel decided to take the items into the police. The object that crashed had several crash sites. Others who claim to have seen the object crash land in different locations say that they saw small humanoid creatures leaving the ship, running away from the wreckage. About a week after the crash, Brazel had been able to collect most of the wreckage, so he drove into Roswell. Brazel brought the items to Sheriff George Wilcox, who ended up being just as confused as Brazel was regarding the origin of the materials. The sheriff decided to contact the commander of Roswell Army's Air Forces. The news worked itself up the chain of command, eventually reaching an intelligence officer named Major Jesse Marcel. Marcel traveled to the crash sites and retrieved the remainder of the wreckage. Then Marcel provided a public statement for the newspapers. The intelligence office of the 509th Bombardment Group at Roswell Army Airfield announced at noon today that the field has come into the possession of a flying saucer. Pilot Kenneth Arnold also confirmed the existence of the saucer, claiming that he too had seen a flying object. Only days later, the news ran rampant with flying saucer headlines. The Air Force released a statement claiming that the object was merely a weather balloon, but in 1978, Marcel revealed that the claim of it being a weather balloon was a hoax meant to distract the public. He speculated that the debris' origin was not of this world. Public speculation exploded with hundreds of theories as to what was found that day. To this day, the Air Force continues to deny that the debris was extraterrestrial. New theories regarding the Roswell incident continue to be talked about, making it one of, if not the most popular UFO sighting to date. Number 5. Nick Pope. Nick Pope served in the British Ministry of Defense, aka the MOD, and was actively engaged in the investigation of UFO reports. During his tenure at the MOD from 1985 to 2006, Pope held the position of a civil servant, specializing in defense and security issues. His role in the UFO desk of the MOD from 1991 to 1994 brought him to the forefront of analyzing and assessing unidentified aerial phenomena that that was reported by civilians and military personnel. Pope's responsibilities included the examination of UFO sightings, compiling reports, and offering insights into the potential national security implications of such incidents. His work involved liaising with various government agencies, intelligence services, and international counterparts to comprehensively evaluate the data surrounding UFO encounters. After his government service, Pope transitioned into the public domain and became a recognized figure in the discussion surrounding UFOs. His extensive background in government service and his intimate involvement in the investigation of UFO reports provided him with unique perspectives. Pope's decision to share his insights and knowledge with the public contributed to his emergence as a prominent commentator on UFO-related issues. Pope's public commentary extends beyond his own experiences, exploring broader discussions and topics surrounding the existence of extraterrestrial phenomena, government transparency, and the need for a more systematic approach to studying and understanding UFOs. His articulate and measured presentations have positioned him as a go-to source for media outlets seeking informed perspectives on the subject. Nick Pope does not claim any personal witness to UFO events. His role in the bureaucratic machinery of the British Ministry of Defense and following transition into public UFO discourse have added a valuable, interesting layer to the ongoing dialogue about unidentified aerial phenomena. His contributions, grounded in factual information and analytical acumen, continue to shape the narrative around UFOs and their significance in the realms of national security and public awareness. Number 4. Luis Elizondo. Luis Elizondo, a former intelligence officer, served as the director of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or the AATIP, at the Pentagon. His position in the government ended in his decision to resign from the Pentagon, a departure that marked a pivotal moment in his public disclosure of information regarding unidentified aerial phenomena. Elizondo's background in intelligence and his leadership role within the ATIP provided him with personal, anecdotal, and unique insights into matters pertaining to unidentified aerial threats. Following his resignation, he transitioned from a position of government authority to becoming a prominent figure in the public discourse on UAP. Elizondo's decision to step forward and share his knowledge contributed to the growing awareness and discussion surrounding unidentified aerial phenomena. His revelations did not merely focus on acknowledging the existence of UAPs, but extended to discussions about the need for increased transparency and research into these phenomena. Yes, Elizondo. Yay. Elizondo's influential public statements, interviews, and engagements in various forums became key in shaping the narrative around UAP, influencing public perception and generating widespread interest in the subject. Elizondo's credibility was further amped by his association with the Pentagon's ATIP, a program specifically established to investigate and analyze unidentified aerial threats. This institutional connection added weight to his disclosures and positioned him as a central figure capable of offering informed perspectives on the matter. Elizondo participated in interviews, documentaries, and public events, disseminating information and advocating for a more comprehensive understanding of these aerial phenomena. His role in the public sphere marked a departure from the customary secrecy surrounding such matters within government agencies. While controversies and debates surround the nature of UAP and their potential implications, Luis Elizondo's shift from a discrete government role to a public advocate marked a significant chapter in the ongoing dialogue about unidentified aerial phenomena. Number 3. John Callahan. John Callahan, the former division chief of the Accidents and Investigations Branch of the Federal Aviation Administration, made claims that he had received information about a UFO sighting from Japanese pilots. According to Callahan, the government was involved in a cover-up, concealing crucial evidence related to this otherworldly encounter. Callahan's claims surrounded an incident that occurred in the late 1980s, which involved Japanese airline pilots reporting a close encounter with an unidentified flying object. The details of the sighting raised questions regarding the possible existence of extraterrestrial life and the government's role in suppressing such information. Callahan said that the FAA had indisputable evidence, including radar data and audio recordings of communication between the pilots and air traffic controllers. Callahan's claims were built on the foundation that the government intentionally withheld this information from the public, which further sparked concerns about transparency and accountability from the government. His claims fueled already bountiful suspicions among UFO enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists who believe that governments worldwide are actively concealing evidence of extraterrestrial encounters. Callahan's credibility lent weight, weight and plausibility to his claims. As a former high-ranking official within the FAA, he held a position that frequently granted him access to extremely sensitive information and insider knowledge. His decision to come forward and expose the cover-up added a sense of authenticity to the narrative. Skepticism and scrutiny quickly followed Callahan's publicized revelations. People questioned the reliability of the evidence and questioned the motivations behind his disclosure. Some argued that the claims were sensationalist and lacked the necessary evidence to substantiate them. The absence of concrete proof beyond Callahan's testimony left room for doubt. The case brought attention to the greater issues of UFO disclosure and transparency within government agencies. It fueled public demand for greater openness regarding unidentified aerial phenomena, prompting calls for the declassification of documents. John Callahan's claims opened a safe of speculation, inviting closer examination of the relationship between officials and the mysteries of the sky. Number 2. Edgar Mitchell. Edgar Mitchell, a distinguished astronaut who was part of the Apollo 14 mission, left a mark not only on the lunar surface, but also in ufology and conspiracies of government secrecy. In 2008, Mitchell openly shared his suspicions regarding the existence of extraterrestrial life, and made allegations of a cover-up. Mitchell's cosmic revelation was rooted in his very unique perspective, as he was one of the few individuals who had ventured beyond our planet's confines. Having spent a total of 9 hours on the moon's surface, Mitchell's experiences ignited a level of curiosity that had never been seen before. His claim that extraterrestrial life exists was grounded in the belief that the vastness of the universe makes it statistically improbable for Earth to be the sole harbor of life, which, you know, I agree with. It is so insane to me that some people think we are the only sentient life in our literally giant universe. It was Mitchell's claim of a government cover-up that catapulted his allegations into a realm of controversy and subjected him to severe skepticism. According to Mitchell, high-ranking officials were aware of the presence of extraterrestrial beings, but actively chose to conceal this information from the public. Their secrecy, he argued, was motivated by concerns over societal upheaval and the potential impact on established power structures. Mitchell's claims are situated within the broader context of UFO conspiracy theories and a long-standing distrust of governmental transparency. While his status as an astronaut lends a sense of credibility to his statements, people often remind others that Mitchell's assertions lack concrete evidence. The absence of verifiable proof has led many to dismiss his claims as influenced by personal beliefs rather than factual occurrences. Despite the skepticism surrounding Mitchell's allegations, they have sparked discussions about the possibility of extraterrestrial life and the extent of government knowledge on the matter. Number 1. David Grush. David Grush is a decorated Afghanistan soldier and former Air Force intelligence officer who worked at the NGA, the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, and at the NRO, the National Reconnaissance Office. He is an accomplished man who is extremely knowledgeable of the events and conversations that are taking place in government settings, especially surrounding UAP and non-humans. David claimed that he was informed of a multi-decade Pentagon program that sought to locate, collect, and reconstruct UAP. He interviewed over 40 workers in 4 years and came to the conclusion that the government is currently in possession of UAP. He said he actually knew the exact location of some of the technology, as the information was provided to him directly. David claims that the program is funded above congressional oversight, being bankrolled by a misappropriation of funds. He also claimed to be aware of colleagues who had recovered from non-human biologics derived from UAP crashes. He claims that his testimony was based on information given to him by trusted individuals, who all had a long-standing record of legitimacy. He said that the sources shared proof in photographs, documentation, and official oral testimonies. When asked if he had known of anyone who lost their lives due to non-human materials, Grush responded, "I directed people with that knowledge to the appropriate authorities." Okay, a little sketchy, and the whole thing sounds a little off to me. Members of the government have come forward, painting David as a madman who doesn't know the difference between real and fake, but David was accompanied by 2 officers who both corroborated his story. Is it possible that David was telling the truth? Is there an organization that is currently conducting alien testing right under our noses? All I'll say is that David's claims sound eerily familiar, and the fact that David came forward with his testimony and was immediately labeled as an insane, pathological liar shows how concerned the government is with becoming an object of suspicion.
Number 5. Who wants to go to Wonderland? I'm officially kicking off this list with the most recent sighting on today's list. And for this gal, the one that's closest to home. If you know, you know. So sometime over this past weekend, multiple people recorded footage of a glowing orange light hovering in the sky over none other than Canada's Wonderland. So So me, being the skeptic that I am, doubted the influx of videos that I was being sent until I finally had time this morning to sit down and watch them, and I genuinely have no idea what it could be other than a UFO. Like, originally I wanted to rate it off as one of the many millions of holiday lights they have glowing in the park right now for their Winterfest event. And trust me, they have a lot. But the glowing figure goes from being vertical in footage from one area to completely horizontal in another. And I'm talking like opposite ends of the park, and alternates between staying solitary and moving around. It personally looks nothing like any of the drones I've ever seen in this lifetime, both professional drones and personal drones. And while I'm not an expert, feel free to let me know in the comments if you think otherwise. Maybe the aliens just wanted to visit Winterfest? It's quite the cute event if you like Christmas. I don't know. Number 4, UFO over the Vatican. Alrighty folks, time to travel back a simple 13 years in history to visit the Vatican, and I promise this time I'm not trying to borrow the chronovisor. I promise. So, was Rome visited by unidentified flying objects? Definitely. And the sightings in the skies over Vatican City stirred newspaper headlines and numerous TV news reports in Italy. So according to reports, it seemed that a UFO flap was taking place in Rome, and that strange objects were also recorded on camera several times. The most important one is the footage of an odd luminous formation taken by 3 security guards stationed in front of the residence of the US ambassador to the Vatican. Now these were qualified witnesses since they are artillerymen, trained experts, in air surveillance. This was around 4 a.m. on the night of June 7th, when these 3 men belonging to the 17-degree anti-aircraft regiment at the Santa Barbara station spotted 3 spherical bright objects hovering the sky above St. Peter's Dome, right in the Vatican, right in the center of Rome. So they promptly filmed the unexpected nocturnal air show with, a cell phone, because that's always what you got on hand. You get a little flip. So from their point of observation in the Roman Monteverde area, they immediately stopped a police patrol because, they're well trained in spotting aircrafts, and they excluded the possibility of a commercial plane, a jet fighter, or a balloon. They described the object's swift maneuvers, mentioning, darting move towards the sky, a delta formation, and luminous dots suspended at about 300 feet above the ground. They added that there is no way a conventional airplane can do such things. The UFO disappeared and reappeared for brief moments, with sudden changes of altitude before it darted westbound at a 40-degree angle. Now, the police patrol took the report very seriously, and the central police station in Rome was immediately alerted. The footage, more than a minute in length, was acquired by the Italian police, pending further investigations. Now, thanks to the technical background of the witnesses, many TV networks took the news very seriously. Studio Aperto anchorwoman Elena Guarnieri introduced the segment by saying, we're gonna show you now an exclusive video footage of a UFO sighting in Rome, and this video was filmed by 3 soldiers, so take a look. Staff journalist Paolo Capresi then described the images, saying, they are 3 flying objects and they are floating in the air. They were filmed last night above Rome. These images were taken with a cell phone by 3 soldiers who were in service in front of the US ambassador's residence in the Vatican City, Monteverde district, 2 steps from St. Peter's Square, and were immediately handed over to the police. Now, why did I say this all word for word? Even though I'm repeating myself, I like to make sure I'm using direct quotes, folks. We like to be credible around here. As you can see, there are no objects around to use as reference points that could give them the exact distance or size of the UFOs, and it seemed that they were spherical in shape and how they hovered above the Vatican. They appear to disappear often without changing altitude. The journalist concluded, almost ironically, the soldiers who have filmed these 3 objects are based in the anti-aircraft division and are specialized in recognizing the flight path of the aircraft. Since 1978, it's the Air Force that is in charge of registering sightings. Now, this sighting was actually preceded approximately 8 hours before by another relevant sighting, when the day before, at 8 p.m., many motorists traveling along the Via Aurelia and the A12 highway in the section between Civitavecchia and Santa Marinella said they saw a very bright circular object flying across the sky. Paranormal and other unexplained activity has been reported in and above Vatican City for years, but the increased reports of UFO phenomena immediately following the death of Pope John Paul II had many people in the field of extraterrestrial research wondering if there was some sort of connection. As well, there had been several documented accounts of increased anomalous activity in different locations throughout Vatican City. Yeah, once again, right after that death. My theory? The aliens were in town to pay their respects to the former Pope. Well, y'all know they've got a UFO in their archives somewhere. Number 3, Maryborough. So this UFO phenomenon remains unsolved after government authorities and weather experts failed to explain strange orange lights sighted by hundreds of residents back in 2011. So at the time, local news outlet The Chronicle was bombarded with phone calls, emails, visitors, you name it, after publishing a story about the hovering objects, which had appeared in the night sky over the city the week before. Now, while all residents had similar descriptions of the glowing balls of light and their slow movements back and forth across the sky, the story did take quite an eerie twist. Nobody was able to successfully capture the unidentified objects with a camera. Now, we do have some of the commentary from the time to share with y'all. Let's start with my partner, my brother, and I all saw the lights. I tried to film them on my phone, but when I later looked at the footage, nothing showed up. Very strange. This came from Phil and Karina in an email. I took a very magnified photo of the last orange orb, but it does not seem to have come out on my camera, according to somebody named Martine. It was very weird. The lights did not seem to be flying too high above us. I grabbed my binoculars to try and get a better look. It was weird. While I could see a string of lights without the binoculars, when I looked through them, I could only see one light, according to Azoic. And then Greg said, we saw 4 lights in a group. I tried to take photos with my camera, but they didn't come up. That's a lot of witnesses, folks. UFO Research Queensland Sightings Officer Martin Gottschall, who had studied UFOs for more than 30 years, said that he had received the reports about the orange balls of lights. Now, as for the objects not showing up in photographs, he said it seemed as though extraterrestrial crafts could make light do things that we haven't learned yet. People have theorized that maybe the force field around the UFO somehow affects the way in which ordinary light, like infrared, shows up. So for example, when people take photos of what they think is a UFO and there's an aircraft nearby, the aircraft will come out as defined while the UFO is hazy. Now, Gay Kayabiab, the local neighborhood center multicultural worker, dismissed suggestions that the lights were Chinese New Year's lanterns. Apparently, the Chinese population in that region wasn't very significant, and since it wasn't the Chinese New Year at the time, it was close, but it was already over, it just wasn't it. Lanterns are released as signs of good luck, but he wasn't aware of any celebrations, and it was very unlikely that they would be released for several days in a row. A Fraser Coast Regional Council spokesman said it was unlikely the lights were caused by aircrafts, but from the nearby airport. A spokesman from the Bureau of Meteorology said he couldn't think of anything weather-wise that would cause something like that, and directed the Chronicle to 2 different Queensland UFO organizations. Now, the Australian Army was contacted but didn't respond to a suggestion that the bright lights could have come from its, training area. So let me know in the comments what you think. Number 2, Colombia. So back in January of 2011, the highest volcano in Colombia was the scene of numerous UFO sightings, which according to some is due to extraterrestrials monitoring seismic activity in an effort to save the human race. Locals in the border region between the 2 departments of Huila and Coca, where the Volcan Nevado del Huila is situated, believe the UFOs to belong to extraterrestrial beings and have documented sightings with pictures and videos. Now, these claims were backed by local UFO expert Ricardo Ayerbe, who told the newspaper that he had witnessed an increase in unidentified flying objects over the last decade. Now, he explains that he was investigating the phenomenon and believed that alien beings have an interest in the geological area, which at the time presented at a level 3 risk level which means that there were some changes in volcanic activity. The activity of a number of volcanoes in the central Andes had not only caused alarm, but also provided a possible explanation for the sightings, according to this expert. We've got a direct quote. Quite possibly these sightings are related to these geological events that have occurred in recent months. At the moment, there have been sightings in areas of geological risk because it seems they have an interest in observing the risks that humanity is taking. Surely with the purpose of intervening to try and save the race from these risks, he explained, apparently with a straight face. Yikes. Number 1, Kansas City. This alleged craft was recorded last October in Raytown, Missouri. The person who submitted it said, unknown aerial object caught on camera, slow moving and sometimes translucent and sometimes rejecting light. Commenter stated, one of the coolest UFO vids yet. Someone's stealth tech is not working 100%. Now others state, incredible find, this is compelling. It's seriously mind-blowing and I cannot stop watching it. Now commenters suspect the object to be at least 7 or 8 feet across. As for anyone who thinks the footage has been faked or edited because the UFO looked blurry, one person gave a possible explanation saying, it's rotating and that's why it looked translucent and changing shape. It's also moving very fast if you check the change in size. But the reason that's taking me away from it is the no change in the picture quality of the craft. It should get blurry due to the distances or changes in light or contrast. It all remains the same even when the craft is moving away very fast. Try imagining a vehicle moving fast on the street. Now others wonder why there is a person or some kind of being running in the video and what they witnessed. The suburbs of Kansas City, Missouri have been very active with UFO, UAP sightings and reports for the last decade. So maybe it's time to take a field trip?
Number 5, government-owned UAPs. In July of 2023, 3 former military officials entered a Congress hearing and shook the minds of hundreds of people. David Gersh told the panel that he was absolutely certain that the government was in possession of UAPs. David Gersh is a decorated Afghanistan soldier and former Air Force intelligence officer who worked at the NGA, National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, and the NRO, which is the National Reconnaissance Office, or something like that, sorry. From 2019 to 2021, he was the NRO representative for the UAPT. Remember the organization that came before AARO? Well, David was the co-lead for UAP analysis for the NGA. He assisted in drafting the National Defense Authorization Act of 2023, which includes provisions for the reporting of UFOs, including whistleblower protections and exemptions for non-disclosure orders and agreements. So clearly, he is a very accomplished man, and a man who is extremely knowledgeable of the events and conversations that are taking place in government settings, especially surrounding UAPs and Inhumans. David claimed that he was informed of a multi-decade Pentagon program that sought to locate, collect, and reconstruct UAPs UAPs. He interviewed over 40 people in 4 years and has come to the conclusion that the government is currently in possession of UAPs. He said he actually knew the exact location of some of the technology as the information was provided to him, the Inspector General, and some was provided to the intelligence committees. David claims that the program is funded above congressional oversight, being bankrolled by misappropriations of funds, and when asked if it was meant if there was money being taken out of other programs or a cover-up program to hide the funds, David replied in affirmation, stating, "Yes, I have specific knowledge of that." David was unable to release more information regarding the funding as he said it was classified. He stated that even though he didn't have any first-hand experiments with the UAPs, he knows of several colleagues who have encountered and have been injured by them. The entire hearing was extremely telling as a lot of crazy revelations came to light, but UAPs weren't the only thing the government was accused of possessing, and they definitely weren't the most interesting either. Number 4. Roswell. The Roswell incident is generously and fairly credited as the pivoting point for the culture surrounding aerial phenomenons today. In 1947, an object crash landed on ranch land in Roswell, New Mexico, as Mac Brazel and his son were driving across their land when they came across the wreckage. Brazel described the scene as a large area of bright wreckage made up of rubber stripes, tinfoil, and rather tough paper and sticks. Perplexed by the strange assortments of items that had randomly appeared, Brazel decided to take the items into the police, and the object that crashed had several crash insights. Others who have claimed to have seen the object crash land in different locations all say that they saw small humanoid creatures leaving the ship, running away from the wreckage. But about a week after the crash, Brazel has been able to collect most of the wreckage, and so he drove into Roswell. Brazel brought the items to the sheriff George Wilcox, who ended up being just as confused as Brazel regarding the origin of the materials, and the sheriff decided to contact the commander of Roswell's armies, the Air Force, and the news worked itself up to the chain of command and eventually reaching an intelligence officer by the name of Major Jesse Marcel. Marcel traveled to the crash site and retrieved the remainder of the wreckage. Then Marcel provided a public statement for the newspaper saying that the intelligence officer of the 509 Bombardment Group at Roswell Army Airfield announced at noon today, or at that time, that the field has come into possession of a flying saucer. Pilot Kenneth Arnold has also confirmed the existence of the saucer, claiming that he too had seen the flying object. Only days later, the news ran rampant with the flying saucer headlines. The Air Force released a statement claiming that the object was merely a weather balloon, but in 1978, Marcel revealed that the claim of it being a weather balloon was a hoax, meaning to distract the public. He speculated that the debris origin was not of this world, and public speculation exploded with hundreds of theories as to what was found that day. To this day, the Air Force continues to deny that the debris was extraterrestrial, as new theories regarding the Roswell incident continues to be talked about, making it one of, if not, the most popular UFO sightings to date. Number 3. John Callahan. John Callahan is the former division chief of the Accidents and Investigations branch of the Federal Aviation Administration, made claims that he had also received information about a UFO sighting from Japanese pilots. According to Callahan, the government was involved in a cover-up, of course, concealing crucial evidence relating to this otherworldly encounter. Callahan claims surrounded an incident that occurred in the late 1980s which involved Japanese airline pilots reporting a close encounter with an unidentified flying object. The details of the sighting raised questions regarding the possible existence of extraterrestrial life and the government's role in suppressing such information. Callahan said that the FAA had indisputable evidence, including radar data and audio recordings of communication between the pilots and air traffic controllers. Callahan claims were built on the foundation that the government intentionally withheld this information from the public, which further sparks concerns about the transparency and accountability from the government. His claim fueled already bountiful suspicions among UFO enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists who believe that the government worldwide are actively concealing evidence of extraterrestrial encounters. Callahan's credibility then lent weight and plausibility to his claims. As a former high-ranking official within the FAA, he held a position that frequently granted him access to extremely sensitive information and insider knowledge. His decision to come forward and expose the cover-up added a sense of authenticity to the narrative, as skepticism and scrutiny quickly followed Callahan's publicized revelations. People questioned the reliability of the evidence and questioned the motivations behind his disclosure, as some argued that the claims were sensationalist and lacked the necessary evidence to substantiate them. The absence of concrete proof beyond the Callahan's testimony left room for doubt, as the case brought attention to the greater issues of UFO disclosures and transparencies within the government agencies. It fueled public demand for greater openness regarding unidentified aerial phenomena, prompting calls for the disclassifications of documents. John Callahan claimed opened a safe of speculation, inviting closer examinations of the relationship between officials and the mysteries of the skies. Number 2. Project Blue Book. Project Blue Book was the code name for the study of unidentified flying objects run by the U.S. Air Force March of 1947 to December 1969. The project was located at the Wright Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio, USA. It was initially designed by Captain Edward J. Ruppelt, was inspired by other projects alike. Blue Book Book's goal was to determine if UAPs were a threat to national security and to analyze UFO-related data. There were thousands of reports that they analyzed, researched, investigated, and documented, but they thought it would be unlikely that the studying UFOs would lead to any major scientific breaks, so the US government decided to terminate the project in 1969, for several reasons. Their first reason for the project's termination was that there was no UAPs that had been investigated, reported, or evaluated displayed a threat to national security. Secondly, there was no UAPs discovered that demonstrated a truly unknown or unidentified non-human technological enhancement beyond what we already know. And finally, there was no evidence that indicated any of the sightings that were reported as unidentified were extraterrestrial. Over their 22-year run, Project Blue Book has received over 12,500 sightings and reports, but none of them were actually unidentified phenomena. I actually have a video on a lot of the phenomena that were mistaken for UFOs, so if you want to check that out, please click Top 5 Sky Phenomena. It's pretty cool. But back to Project Blue Book. The project received a lot of backlash from the government, who believed that the speculation and theories surrounding UAPs should be debunked and not researched. The reason that they had every sighting that had been reported was just people mistaking natural phenomena or training. The project was taking a lot of money and was not providing any useful information. The financial loss that this project became, mixed with the doubt that UAPs even existed, pushed the government to decide that Project Blue Book was unnecessary, so they shut it down. Project Blue Book has since made itself well known within pop culture, being mentioned in TV shows and in UAP enthusiasts, and it was one of the most popular US government research projects centered around UAPs. So it makes sense that it gained so much traction and popularity. Have you ever heard of Project Blue Book? Number 1, the United States has reportedly conducted covert operations to recover unidentifying flying objects, UFOs, revealing the existence of a secret CIA team tasked with this mission. At least 9 non-human crafts have been collected by the clandestine group, shedding light on the government's efforts to retrieve and study these mysterious aerial phenomena. The Central Intelligence Agency disclosed the team, operating under the Official of Global Access (OGA), has successfully retrieved 9 unidentified flying objects. These non-human crafts have been collected through covert missions, showcasing the government's interest in studying and understanding the nature of these enigmatic airborne entities. Among the UFOs, at least 2 were found in an undamaged condition, according to reports. The OGA believed that the operating under the CIA Science and Technology Directorate is credited with locating and securing these unconventional aerial objects. The ability to retrieve intact UFOs adds a layer of intrigue to the covert operations conducted by the CIA. The US Intelligence Agency reported possessing of a sophisticated system capable of discerning cloaked UFOs. This technology allows them to identify and track UFOs that may be concealing themselves. Especially military units, including SEAL teams, are deployed when these unidentified vehicles land on Earth, or if they do. The existence of such advancement detection capabilities underscores the seriousness with which the government approaches the study of UFOs. As I mentioned earlier, former Pentagon intelligence officer David Gersh, which is in the previous one, was testified before Congress alleging that the American government has been involved in multi-decade programs focusing on the retrieval and reverse engineering the crashed UAPs. At least that's that they think they are. Gersh claims whistleblower status informed Congress about the existence of such a program and the concealment of evidence related to the crash of UAPs, an alien biological specimen. In contrast, a NASA report released recently stated that there is no evidence supporting the extraterrestrial origins of UFOs. The 16-member expert panels emphasize the majority of UAP's observations can be attributed to known phenomena or occurrences. However, the report also highlights challenging in studying UAPs, citing poor data collections and lack of uniform standards. These revelations surrounding the secret CIA team's retrieval missions, advanced detection technology, and contrasting perspectives within the government agencies contributing to the ongoing intrigue and mystery surrounding UFOs and UAPs.
Number 5, Kenneth Arnold. Let me know if I got my math wrong. What he said he saw, and spent the rest of his life trying to explain though, added the words flying saucer to the vocabularies of millions of people around the world. That June afternoon, Arnold took off from Chehalis, Washington. Please tell me if I got that right, I swear I looked it up. On his way to an air show in Pendleton, Oregon, with a planned fuel stop at Yakima, Washington. He was an experienced pilot with 4,000 hours of flying time logged, and a member of an Idaho search and rescue unit. He was piloting a single-engine Call Air A2 light airplane. Skies were clear and the winds were light, so he planned to detour a bit en route. A U.S. Marine Corps Curtiss C-46 commando transport had crashed with 32 U.S. Marines on board somewhere near his eastward course, and he wanted to find the aircraft and claim a $5,000 reward, which, hey, money also motivates me. I get it. Shortly before 3 o'clock, as Arnold circled his plane about 20 miles west of Mount Rainier, searching for the C-46, he saw a bright flash to the northeast. Now, it startled him. He assumed it was just some military lieutenant out with a shiny P-51, and he had caught the reflection of the sun hitting the wings of his plane. But after more flashes appeared, Arnold ruled out, that could be the answer. He claimed that the, flashes emanated from 9 shiny objects flying in an, formation about 5 miles long. He described each object as circular, about 100 feet across, and with no actual tail. The objects periodically flipped, banked, weaved side to side, kind of like the tail of a kite. The formation was crossing in front of Arnold, and he decided to time its passage from Mount Rainier to Mount Adams. He calculated the objects were flying at about 1,200 miles per hour, 2 times faster than any airplane known at the time. Now, months would pass before Colonel Chuck Yeager flew the Bell X-1 rocket airplane to a speed of 700 miles per hour, and exceeded the speed of sound. Just for reference. Arnold emphatically denied that he initially described the objects as flying saucers, but as Megan Garber wrote in her June 15th of 2014 article for The Atlantic, sources at the time do credit Arnold with using the terms saucer, disc, and pie pan in his description of the objects he had seen. So don't try and backtrack, dude. We have receipts. He told his story to reporters Bill Baquette and Nolan Skiff of the East Oregonian newspaper the day after his sighting. Now, Skiff used the words saucer-like aircraft when he published a short print article that same day. After suggesting to Arnold that a wire story might generate comments from the military on flights of experimental aircraft that could explain his sighting, Baquette published a brief story picked up by the Associated Press wire service, using the words 9 bright saucer-like objects to describe what Arnold said he saw. So by that afternoon, the tale that he had seen flying saucers kind of spread nationwide. The Associated Press gets around. A radio host interviewing Arnold on June 26 noted how rapidly the story was shared, saying the Associated and United Press all over the nation have been after this story. It's been on every newscast, over the air, and in every newspaper I know of. The Chicago Sun ran the headline saying, "Supersonic flying saucers sighted by the Idaho pilot." What do you know? Arnold became a media sensation, but he didn't want the attention. Now at this point, I'm sure you're wondering, okay, Alexa, shut up. Why does this relate to Project Blue Book? Well, this was the incident that started the entire investigative process. This is the whole reason for Project Blue Book. And to this day, we've never had a concrete answer about what he saw. Make of that what you will. Number 4, the Wright Patterson Air Force Base. Many folks believe a UFO and its extraterrestrial crew crash landed in the New Mexico desert near Roswell on July 2nd of 1947. Many folks, including me. Now, we also believe the site was cleaned up by the Air Force from the nearby Roswell Army Air Force Base. Eyewitnesses reported that 3-foot-tall, gray-skinned aliens passed away in the crash, and according to Lauren Coleman, the co-author of Weird Ohio, them and their space vessel were shipped off to Wright Patterson Air Force Base's notorious Hangar 18, which was the home base for Project Blue Book. And here's the thing, everybody's been trying to get in those doors ever since. Senator Barry Goldwater supposedly asked USAF General Curtis LeMay if he could see what was inside, and LeMay not only told him, you're not getting in, don't ask me ever again, which, if that's coming from a government official, it's a little scary. Now, the Roswell crash wasn't the only extraterrestrial crash in the US at the time. Some allege there were more before 1952 that were covered up, and all the debris and their pilots, with blue-green skin this time, were all carted off to, you guessed it, Wright Pat. One of the crashes apparently held as many as 16 alien bodies. That's a lot of bodies. Now, another crash yielded a ship made of lightweight material, impenetrable by any earthly means. Now, whenever a UFO crash happens, the wreckage is sent to Wright Pat to be reverse engineered, if Area 51's too busy, because sometimes they're overflowing with crafts. Some believe technologies that we've learned from UFOs at Wright Pat include fiber optics, lasers, night vision, integrated circuits, particle beams, you name it. Now, in other news, Henry H. Arnold was the only person to ever be dubbed General of the Air Force. So as a major, I swear it's relevant, he once lived on a house near Huffman Prairie, which has since been named after him, which is where the Wright brothers worked on their planes, which is now, yes I know, the Wright Pat Air Force Base. I swear, I get to my points. It takes me a minute. So for many years, there's visitors that have reported strange noises, objects moving on their own, odd shadows, and other phenomena. Heck, that famous show, Ghost Hunters, we've all watched it? Yeah, they visited the Arnold house and found that at least 5 entities live in there. The Ghost Hunters heard sounds from the bathroom, folks laughing in the living room, dining room, specters turning on lights. Now, if we want to talk about specifically haunted artifacts, parts from Lady Be Good, a B-24 that disappeared during a run on Italy, are said to rearrange themselves. The POW exhibit is supposed to make visitors feel an inexplicable sense of dread, Is this directly relevant to Project Blue Book? No. Is this stuff that they're not going to tell you about on the official tour? Yes. Some folks report that the ghosts actually show up for work. They'll walk in, open a door, hang out. Excuse me, where is this in the news? Now, there's a helicopter that was used for classified missions back in the day. Sits in a museum, still filled with holes from things I can't say, and you can actually hear the voices from the troops that carried around. There is a young boy that, hangs around, let's say something that dropped the Fat Man on Japan, if you know what I know. And supposedly he just comes out at night, hangs out, has fun. The Hop Along, which is another, military craft. Sometimes you see the pilot in the seat of it, just sitting there, flipping switches, trying to get home, Oh, and the seat is still stained with redness. Now, there are some malevolent spirits. They're not all super duper friendly. I can't say the name of what houses the malevolent spirits, but you get some rattles, some clanks, some shadowy figures, strange lights, all sorts of ghosties. And this is where Project Blue Book is based out of? I don't know, man. I'm seeing a lot of weird stuff here. Number 3, the 1964 New Mexico case. So picture this. Socorro, New Mexico, April 24th of 1964, 5:45 p.m. to be exact. Sergeant Lonnie Zamora, police officer, is in pursuit of a speeding car when unexpectedly he hears a roar and witnesses a flame in the southwestern sky. Now, after that he encounters a shiny object described as like aluminum, shaped like the letter O, about 150 to 200 yards away. But just wait, it gets more intriguing. He spots 2 figures in white overalls beside the object, seemingly normal but perhaps smaller adults or larger young people. And hey, if this isn't enough to stir the good old imagination, there's a blue and orange flame beneath the object, and in the blink of an eye, it rises and zips away. Now here's where the story takes a twist. Project Blue Book, the thing we're talking about today, tagged this case as unknown. Zamora's account becomes a puzzle, attracting both, UFO enthusiasts and skeptics alike. You get a lot of theories, a lot of possible explanations. We get like the mundane, the fantastical, who knows what. Could it be a mirage of the star Canopus, as, one UFO skeptic, I believe his name was Stuart Campbell, suggested? Or was it the testing of a lunar landing device by the White Sands Missile Range? Or was it just a prank by, local tech students? Now, the president of New Mexico Tech at the time, Sterling Colgate, was leaning towards a student prank, describing this object as a candle in a balloon, not sophisticated. And yes, we have some more skeptics that want to give their 2 cents. Philip J. Klass, he labeled the incident a hoax, a ploy to boost tourism. Some folks even thought that, Zamora might have been a victim rather than an active participant in an alleged hoax. So fast forward to 1966, we get Paul Ridings, president of, the Chamber of Commerce, looking for a tourist attraction opportunity. So we put in some stone walkways, steps, and benches all around the supposed landing site, but still a quarter mile away because apparently there's radioactive contamination rumors. Now, Zamora didn't like the relentless attention. Retreats from everything, opts for, peace and quiet, manages a gas station. And this incident just is still happening. We don't know what it was. And according to the experts, Project Blue Book labeled this entire event as unexplained. To this day, we don't know what happened. Like, after all these years, we got nothing. Number 2, the 1965 Kecksburg landing. So this incident happened on December 9th of, 1965 in the small town of Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, and it's one of those UFO sightings that evokes curiosity in the mind, if you will. So picture this. A large, brilliant fireball streaking across the skies, witnessed not just only in Kecksburg, but also, 6 different states, and also in Canada, over Detroit and Windsor respectively. Now, initial explanations rolled in from the experts. So astronomers reasoned it was likely a meteor bolide, gracefully running up in the atmosphere, descending at a steep angle. NASA, ever the voice of reason, chimed in 2005, many years later, suggesting that metallic fragments found in the area were remnants of a Soviet satellite. However, a twist in the tale's recording of this finding mysteriously vanished in 1987, which kind of adds a layer of intrigue to the whole thing. The incident found its place in pop culture and UFOlogy, earning the moniker Pennsylvania's Roswell. But what happened there? We get reports of a large fireball over Michigan and Ohio, grass fires, sonic booms in Pittsburgh, all sorts of stuff. We got specifically wisps of blue smoke, vibrations, and an ominous thump. Something from the sky crashed in the woods. Now the plot thickens when state troopers and the Air Force personnel combed through the forest, but found, in their own words, absolutely nothing. So the initial media coverage had headlines like, searchers failed to find object, which added to the enigma. So we've got some experts weighing in. Astronomers, geophysicists, Department of Defense spokespeople, they all had their say. Let's see, we've got astronomer Paul Lanier, who suggested a meteor, while the Department of Defense leaned towards the fireball just being a natural phenomenon. Science journals dabbled in the discussion too, with Sky and Telescope reporting shockwaves on a seismograph as the fireball passed through the atmosphere. So once again, we're gonna fast forward back to 2005, when NASA was like, oh hey, we have a suggestion. They claimed that it was, satellite fragments. But we've got investigative reporter Leslie Keene, who, took NASA to court for those mysteriously vanishing records. The legal tussle revealed 2 boxes that were just, of paper that just went missing from this incident, which once again, given the government some side-eye. Oh, but here's the kicker. We've got some recent speculations proposing that the object might have been a General Electric Mark II re-entry vehicle, which is a spy satellite launched by the Air Force. But we don't have confirmation from NASA or the Air Force. So, and oh, one more thing. So we all remember the show Unsolved Mysteries? So back in 1990, they kind of hinted at it was a UFO crash, with eyewitness accounts describing an object shaped like an acorn, adorned with hieroglyph-like writing, being carted out of the forest. Number 1. J. Allen Hynek. So initially a skeptic of flying saucers, Hynek came to believe over the course of the top secret project that serious investigation of UFOs was a legitimate scientific endeavor. So he acted as scientific advisor to UFO studies undertaken by the US Air Force under 3 projects: Project Sign, Project Grudge, and Project Blue Book. He studied UFO reports and decided whether the phenomena described therein, suggested known astronomical objects. When Project Sign hired Hynek, he was skeptical of UFO reports. He suspected they were made by unreliable witnesses, or by the persons who had misidentified man-made or natural objects. Like in 1948, he said, the whole subject seemed utterly ridiculous, and described it as a fad that would soon pass. Now in 1953, Hynek was an associate member of the Robertson panel, which concluded that there was nothing anomalous about UFO, and that a public relations campaign should be undertaken to debunk the subject and reduce public interest. He would later lament, though, that the Robertson panel, in later years he would actually retract that and say that that panel helped make UFOs a disreputable field of study. So by the time Project Blue Book was shuttered in 1969, Hynek was one of the few people involved who conceded that some UFO cases could simply defy explanation. Today he's known as the father of UFOlogy, who coined the phrase close encounter. In a 1985 interview, when asked what caused his change of opinion, he responded, 2 things really. One was the completely negative and unyielding attitude of the Air Force. They wouldn't give UFOs a chance of existing, even if they were flying up and down the street in broad daylight. Everything had to have an explanation. I began to resent that, even though I basically felt the same way, because I still thought they weren't going about it in the right way. You can't assume that everything is, black no matter what. Secondly, the caliber of the witnesses began to trouble me. Quite a few instances were reported by military pilots, for example, and I knew them to be fairly well trained. So this is when I first began to think that, well, maybe there was something to all this.
Starting off with the Aztec UFO crash in 1948. A year after the infamous Roswell incident, a mysterious disc-shaped object was said to have crashed in the small town of Aztec, New Mexico. Rumors circulated of a seamless metallic craft 99 feet in diameter with no visible means of propulsion. Inside, humanoid bodies, eerily not of this earth, reportedly lay lifeless. The government's swift action to secure the site and allegedly cover up the incident has fueled conspiracy theories and debate among UFO enthusiasts for decades. Is there truth to these extraordinary claims, or is it all an elaborate hoax? Stay tuned as we examine the evidence, hear eyewitness accounts, and explore the secrets of the Aztec UFO crash. It's no secret that incidents involving unidentified flying objects have captivated people for decades. From the Roswell incident to the Phoenix Lights, UFO sightings and crashes have been shrouded in mystery and controversy. One of the most famous and well-known cases is the UFO crash in Aztec. The small town in New Mexico was thrust into the spotlight in 1948 when reports emerged of the disc-shaped object crashing into the area. And the government's swift response in securing the site and keeping it under tight control only added fuel to the fire. Many believe that the government was trying to cover up evidence of extraterrestrial life, while others dismissed the whole incident as a hoax. But despite the controversy and skepticism surrounding the Aztec UFO crash, there are some compelling pieces of evidence that suggest something out of the ordinary did indeed occur in Aztec. From eyewitness accounts to physical evidence found at the site, there are many aspects that cannot be easily explained away. However, the truth behind the Aztec UFO crash remains elusive. Some believe that it was a genuine extraterrestrial spacecraft, while others argue that it was a top secret military project gone wrong. Regardless of what actually happened in 1948, the incident continues to capture the imagination and spark debate among UFO enthusiasts. Next up, Kecksburg, 1965. The small town of Kecksburg, Pennsylvania garnered national attention when a fiery object crashed in the woods. The military swiftly cordoned off the area, sparking rumors of a UFO retrieval operation. Located in Westmoreland County, Pennsylvania, Kecksburg is a small town with a population of just over 1,000 people. However, on the evening of December 9th, 1965, this quiet town would experience a strange and mysterious event that would capture the attention of the nation. Eyewitnesses described seeing a fireball streak across the sky before crashing into the woods just outside of town. Many reported hearing a loud explosion and feeling the ground shake upon impact. The local fire department was immediately dispatched to the area along with police officers and paramedics. However, However, when they arrived at the crash site, they were met with a surprising sight. Military personnel had already cordoned off the area and were not allowing anyone to enter. Rumors immediately began to spread that a UFO had crashed in Kecksburg and that the military was conducting a retrieval operation. These rumors were fueled by witness testimonies of seeing strange metallic debris scattered throughout the crash site. Despite these claims, official statements from the military claimed that nothing out of the ordinary had occurred and that the object was simply a meteorite. However, many people remained skeptical and believed that the military was covering up a potential extraterrestrial encounter. To this day, the incident in Kecksburg remains a mystery and continues to be a subject of debate among UFO enthusiasts and skeptics alike. While some argue that it was just a case of mistaken identity or a natural event, others believe that something otherworldly crashed in the small town that night. The Kecksburg incident serves as a reminder of the enduring fascination with UFOs and the ongoing search for answers about potential extraterrestrial life. It also sheds light on how quickly rumors can spread and how conflicting information can cause confusion and speculation. Next is the Shag Harbor in 1967. This Canadian incident is unique because it involves an unidentified object that crashed into the sea. Both civilians and government officials reported seeing an unusual object descend into the water, and subsequent military divers allegedly retrieved it. The Shag Harbor incident remains one of the most well-documented cases of a UFO crash in history. The event took place on the night of October 4th, 1967 in the small fishing village of Shag Harbor, Nova Scotia. The incident was witnessed by multiple individuals, including fishermen, RCMP officers, and local residents. According to witnesses, they saw a bright object streak across the sky before disappearing into the waters of Shag Harbor. Some described it as a large glowing object with a red light on one side and 4 white lights on the other. The initial reports sparked a massive search and rescue operation, as it was believed that an aircraft had crashed into the sea. However, no debris or wreckage was ever found, leading authorities to conclude that the object must have sunk deep into the water. Despite extensive investigations by Canadian military forces and UFO researchers, the Shag Harbor incident remains an unsolved mystery. The lack of physical evidence and eyewitness testimonies make it difficult to determine the true nature of the object that crashed into the sea. Some theories suggest that it could have been a piece of Soviet or American military equipment, while others speculate that it was an extraterrestrial spacecraft. However, there is no concrete evidence to support these claims. Over the years, the Shag Harbor incident has gained international attention and has been featured in numerous documentaries, books, and TV shows. It remains a popular topic among UFO enthusiasts and continues to spark debates and discussions about the existence of extraterrestrial life. Berwyn Mountains, 1974. In Wales, a large explosion was heard and a mysterious object was seen hurtling towards the Berwyn Mountains. The British government denied any UFO involvement, but many believe that the CIA was involved in the recovery operation. The incident at the mountains in 1974 is shrouded in mystery and controversy. Some theories suggest that the explosion and sighting of a mysterious object could have been caused by a crashed military aircraft, while others claim it was a deliberate cover-up by the government. The Berwyn Mountains incident sparked the interest of UFO enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists who continue to investigate and debate the events that took place. The lack of concrete evidence and conflicting reports only add fuel to the speculation surrounding this mysterious event. Despite the passage of time, the Berwyn Mountains incident remains a popular topic among those interested in paranormal phenomena. The area has even become a hotspot for UFO sightings, with some claiming that there is a connection between the 1974 incident and the frequent sightings in recent areas. Whether or not the truth behind the Berwyn Mountains incident will ever be fully revealed remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: it has captured the imagination of many and continues to intrigue and fascinate to this day. The Berwyn Mountains incident serves as a reminder that there is still so much unknown and unexplained in the world, leaving room for endless speculation and theories. As technology advances and our understanding of the universe deepens, perhaps one day we finally will have definitive answers about what truly happened on that fateful night in 1974. Who knows what other secrets may be hidden in the depths of this mysterious mountain range? Only time will tell. So let's keep our minds open and continue to explore, question, and wonder about the unknown mysteries that surround us. The Berwyn Mountains incident is a reminder that the truth is often stranger than fiction, and that there may be more to this world than than what meets the eye. It serves as a testament to our never-ending quest for answers and understanding, and a reminder of the endless possibilities that await us in this vast universe. The city of Varginha, located in the state of Minas Gerais, became known worldwide for a series of alleged extraterrestrial incidents that occurred in 1996. The story goes that on January 20th, 3 young girls claimed to have seen an alien creature with large red eyes and strange markings on its skin. It is said that the being was captured by the military and taken to a local hospital where it later passed away. It is believed that this event was not an isolated incident. Residents of Varginha reported seeing strange lights in the sky and hearing loud noises on the same day. Some even claimed to have seen more than one creature roaming the city. The story gained so much attention that it caught the interest of all the media and ufologists who traveled to Varginha to investigate. The Brazilian government initially denied any involvement in the incident, but many conspiracy theories emerged. Some believe that the US government was responsible for covering up the truth and that they secretly retrieved evidence of extraterrestrial life from Varginha. Others claim that the creatures were actually escaped laboratory animals from a nearby military base. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, the alleged events in Varginha continue to captivate people's imaginations and fuel debates about the existence of extraterrestrial life. The case has been featured in numerous documentaries and is still a popular topic among UFO enthusiasts. The city of Varginha even hosts an annual UFO festival drawing in tourists from all over the world. Whether one believes in the Varginha incident or not, it is clear that the story has left a lasting impact on the city and its residents. It serves as a reminder of our fascination with the unknown and also what other mysteries may be waiting to be uncovered in cities around the world. Until then, Varginha remains a fascinating and mysterious place, shrouded in questions and speculation. We're starting off with some revelations from the Pentagon. The head of their UFO Incidents Investigation Office has testified to Congress, and it seems they've got 650 cases on their hands right now. And before you ask, apparently they've found no evidence of extraterrestrial life yet, or at least that's what they want us to believe. Right in the middle of a rare open congressional hearing on what the Pentagon is calling unexplained anomalous phenomena, or UAPs, they've dropped 2 new videos. They wanted to show how the newly formed All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO, can explain some of these weird occurrences but is left scratching their heads at others. Now, I want to know, have you ever had a close encounter or spotted something in the sky that you just couldn't explain? Maybe you've seen strange lights, unusual shapes, or even alien creatures in real life? Share your experience in the comments. The first video, which is up on the Pentagon's website, is in color and dates back to July 12, 2022 in the Middle East. The second one gives us 2 different views of an incident reported over South Asia on January 15, 2023. The testimony from Kirkpatrick revealed that the AARO is currently reviewing over 650 UAP incidents. That's quite a leap from the 510 the US intelligence community reported in the last UAP report back in January. While the Pentagon has yet to officially recognize these UAPs as evidence of extraterrestrial life, numerous aspects of these videos have intrigued UFO enthusiasts and theorists alike who believe these could indeed be alien encounters. The truth behind these UAPs remains elusive, and the investigations by AARO are ongoing, yet these intriguing points leave us with more questions than answers. On to the next! For decades, our fascination with extraterrestrial and non-human life has been ignited by Hollywood's sci-fi movies. But today, that enthusiasm is stoked by something far more intriguing: authentic video footage released by none other than the US government. For many years, the idea of life beyond Earth has been a topic of fascination and speculation. From aliens in green spacesuits and giant spaceships, Hollywood has provided us with endless entertainment when it comes to extraterrestrial beings. However, it wasn't until recently that our curiosity was piqued by actual footage released by the US government. The release of authentic video footage showcasing unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAPs, has caused a stir in the scientific community and among the general public. People are now asking questions about what these objects could be and whether they hold any significance for life beyond our planet. A former Navy pilot who has had first-hand experiences with UAP shared his own encounters and sheds light on the government's investigations into these mysterious flying objects. His advocacy for more government transparency and openness regarding UAP sightings adds another layer to already fascinating topic. So if a Navy pilot is advocating for transparency, that must mean he's seen otherworldly things, right? That's spooky to think about, considering how little the government keeps from us about extraterrestrial life. Next up, we're diving into an incident involving another UAP. Picture this, an entity with an uncanny resemblance to a jellyfish effortlessly gliding through a high security military site before moving over a body of water. Now here's where things get interesting. This UAP then started a calculated descent, submerging itself beneath the water surface. But that's not all. After a suspenseful 17 minutes, this thing resurfaced and darted off into the distance at an incredible speed. Now, according to those who have seen the full footage or were present during this event, this UAP was completely invisible to night vision. Even more bizarre, it seemed to interfere with the targeting capabilities of the optical platform. But perhaps the most intriguing part is it demonstrated a form of positive lift, an ability to hover in the air without any visible means of lift or thrust. No propulsion maneuvers, no signatures, nothing. This incident is just one of many that have been reported and documented by credible sources, raising questions about whether we are alone in this vast universe. With the release of the Pentagon's report on UAPs, the topic has gained even more attention and sparked a renewed interest in the search for ET life. Some theories suggest that these UAPs could be advanced technology from other countries, while others believe they are of extraterrestrial origin. The truth is, we can't definitively say what these objects are or where they come from, but what we do know is that their capabilities far surpass our current technological advancements. One possible explanation for the advanced technology displayed by UAPs is that they are using propulsion systems based on principles beyond our understanding. Another theory suggests that these objects are able to manipulate space-time, allowing them to travel vast distances in a short amount of time. But perhaps the most unsettling thought is that these UAPs could be controlled by intelligent beings who possess knowledge and abilities far beyond our own. If this is true, it raises important questions about our place in the universe and how we should approach the possibility of contact with extraterrestrial life. Continuing our exploration of UAPs, there's another often discussed theories. Some researchers propose that these unidentified objects could be evidence of time travelers from our own future. While this certainly ventures into the realm of science fiction, considering the far superior technological advancements displayed by these UAPs, theory that cannot be dismissed outright. The Customs and Border Patrol have released 10 videos, each one accompanied by a detailed report. These reports, spanning 387 pages, include news extracts and first-hand accounts of encounters with unidentified aerial phenomena. To give you a bit of insight, Chris Mellon, who served previously as a Secretary of Defense for Intelligence officials, believes these videos will help us all understand why these mysterious phenomena have become a matter of national security concern. He explains that these videos and reports are not meant to scare the public, but rather to inform them of potential threats that may be lurking in our skies. He also mentions that while some of these encounters can be explained by natural or man-made occurrences, there are still many cases that remain unexplained. On top of that, the release of these videos has sparked a debate among experts and the general public. Some believe that these phenomena could have extraterrestrial origins, while others argue for more rational explanations. Regardless of one's beliefs, there's no denying the significance of these videos and reports in shedding light on this intriguing topic. Moreover, with advanced technology becoming increasingly accessible to the public, more people are able to capture footage of unidentified aerial phenomena. This has led to a growing interest in the subject and an increase in reported sightings. The release of these videos by the Customs and Border Patrol is just one example of how government agencies are taking this matter seriously and working towards finding answers. The public's fascination with UFOs and extraterrestrial life has only grown over the years. With popular culture constantly referencing aliens and sightings, it's no surprise that these videos have caught the attention of so many. Some may argue that these videos and reports are simply fueling conspiracy theories, but others see them as a step towards uncovering the truth. In addition to the release of these videos, the government has also taken steps towards establishing a formal process for reporting and investigating UFO sightings. This shows a shift in attitude towards the topic and a recognition of its importance. It's clear that there is still much to be learned and understood about these mysterious phenomena, but with continued efforts from both government agencies and the public, we may one day have answers. However, the question remains, why is there such a strong interest in ETs and UFOs? One answer could lie in our inherent human desire to explore and understand the universe. We're naturally curious beings, always seeking answers, especially to the unexplained. There's also a certain thrill attached to the idea of being on the cusp of a great discovery that could change our understanding of life and our place in the universe. right? And lastly, we have one more fascinating thing to bring to your attention today. NASA shared an intriguing video during a discussion about UFOs. The footage presents what appears to be an unidentified spherical object in flight. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Military officials have come forward stating they're at a loss. They simply cannot explain the nature of this object. So what do you think it could be? Could it be a top secret military aircraft that is still in its testing phases, or could it possibly be an extraterrestrial spacecraft that has stumbled upon our planet? These are just a couple of the theories floating around regarding this mysterious object, but this isn't the first time something like this has happened. In fact, there have been many numerous reports of UFO sightings over the years, with many being dismissed as hoaxes or natural phenomena. However, there are also those that have been left unexplained and continue to baffle scientists and civilians alike. One of the most well-known cases is the Roswell incident in 1947, where a mysterious object crashed near Roswell, New Mexico. The official explanation by the military was that it was a weather balloon, but many believe it was actually a crashed alien spacecraft. This event sparked widespread interest in the topic of UFOs and has fueled numerous conspiracy theories. So what can we expect in the future? With advancements in technology and space exploration, it's possible that we may finally have concrete answers about these sightings. Who knows what else we'll find? The possibilities are endless. Let's keep an eye on the skies and see what else may be out there.